Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Fine. Going on well.
Okay, okay. Sundara will come and join, sir. There is a small mistake made in the invitation. Instead of 10,
There is a voice. This voice is a little low, sir. Is my side or your side? I don't know.
Sir?
The voice is a little less. Could you hear me well?
Hello?
Sir, could you hear me?
Sir, voice is very low, sir.
Yeah, that is what I am thinking. And for me also.
There is a mistake. There are two programs. One is on 23rd, another one is 18. when they preparing that, there is a small mistake.
Anything?
But in the program,
Your voice.
program, sir.
I'll give high. Now, could you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir. There are about nearly 300 people. They are streaming in
No, I could
YouTube.
not hear you, sir. There is your voice is very low.
My voice is low,
Yeah, yeah.
sir. There are about 300 participants are joined, sir, in the YouTube
Okay, okay.
link. But we, the panelists, will be here. About 10 people will in the meet. சார் இப்போ கேக்குதா சார் உங்களுக்கு?
இப்போ கொஞ்சம் கேக்குதுங்க.
சரிங்க சார். ஒரு 300 பேர் ஜாயின் பண்றாங்க சார் யூடியூப் லிங்க்ல. நம்ம பேனலிஸ்ட்
சரிங்க.
மாத்திரம் நம்ம இங்க இருப்போம். கூகுள் மீட்ல.
இன்னும் டைம் இருக்கு. There are 2 minutes more.
ஆமா சார், ஆமா சார். சார் சுந்தரம் ஜாயின் சார்.
ஆமா. வணக்கம் சார். வணக்கம். ஹலோ.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir.
There is Professor Sundaram, madam,
Ah,
our project leader.
oh,
So start பண்ணலாமா?
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்க. எல்லாரும்
ரெண்டு பேர் வந்து அப்புறம் ஜாயின் பண்ணுறாங்க.
கீனோட் ஸ்பீக்கர்ஸ் எல்லாரும் ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டாங்களா?
ரெண்டு பேர் வந்து ஜாயின் பண்ண போறாங்க.
ஓகே.
So professor start பண்ணலாம் சார். Professor Rajan sir.
Yeah, we can start, sir. No problem.
Professor Sundaram sir.
Yes, you can proceed.
Okay. We can start.
A very good morning to one and all present here. We have all gathered here through this online platform for the National Virtual Workshop on Integrated and Sustainable Management of Water Resources under the Rashtriya Uchchata Shiksha Abhiyan 2.0 Theme 3 Water Resources Management Geo-spatial Tank Information System for Sustainable Water and Environmental Planning, jointly organized by the Department of Indian History and Center for Water Resources and Management. Let us begin this event with the Tamil Thai Varthu.
Yes.
நீராடும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கேளொழுகும் சீராடும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை முதலும் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திரக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரமை திறம் வியந்த செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
I request Dr. G. Bhaskaran, Professor and Head in charge of the Center for Water Resources and Management, University of Madras, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Swada. Very good morning to all. Today is a special day to start this water movement. Since the water is very precious and now we are wasting the water as a pollution as well as mismanagement of water, so that there is an awareness to be given to the stakeholders as well as the students and the researchers. In that way, the Center for Water Resource Management and the Department of Indian History, they are taking care and they are planned to conduct series of webinars in such a way. One among the seminar is this one, and this is the Integrated Sustainable Water Resource Management. This seminar will enlighten the participant about the water and water usages, the ancient period, and what are the tools and techniques, recent tools and techniques available for assessing, identifying, and giving some solutions to overcome with the water shortage issue. And there are eminents are going to present their own experience and their field of expertise with the participants. So I wholeheartedly welcome all the participants as well as the presenters, keynote speakers, the eminents in the field of research. And I invite all our faculty members of the University of Madras as well as the other universities. Now, I invite uh, our professor, Dr. Sundaram, who is instrumental for this project, as well as the mentor for us, to give a inaugural address. Before that, I want to tell something about this. When the RUSA project came to the University of Madras, he only divided the entire theme, and as well as the water is a core theme to be discussed and to be analyzed, so that it can give way to have this project in the Kanjipuram district. So I wholeheartedly thank our Professor Sundaram, and I invite Sundaram for that inaugural address. And he is a very young and dynamic personality, and he is coordinating all our faculty members to conduct research and our academic activities. Uh, and also, he is a well-known person in South India as well as North India also. So that kind of personality is giving an opportunity to conduct this webinar. So the Indian District Department and the Center for Water Resource Management and the University of Madras welcome Dr. Professor Sundaram to give you the welcome address. And next, a very good personality, worldwide known person, very good historian, eminent speaker, Dr. K. Rajan sir is instrumental for us to have the water management ideas in the ancient period are going to be discussed. With the short notice, he accepted an invitation and he is going to present the ancient during the ancient period how that our ancestors are managing the water issues and water problems, how they have solve the water issues. Likewise, he is going to enlighten us. Sir, we wholeheartedly welcome you on behalf of the Indian History Department and the Center for Water Resource Management of the University of Madras. Sir, we welcome you all. And another one is the technological person who served as a scientist in the ISRO, and she want to give the technology to the South Indian terrain. So she shifted to Anna University as a technical person who is specialized in the water resource management. And in the short notice, he also accepted our invitation, and she is going to deliver about that technology and water management topic and enlightening the participant and also us. Thank you, madam, for your acceptance and giving the keynote address of the second session. Another two people are the field-oriented people. They are in the field. They will be coming and join with us in the short period. And one is Dr. Subramaniam, who is the regional director of the Center for Central Groundwater Board. He moved here and there, entire Indian terrain, and he knows very well about the groundwater quality and groundwater availability in the Indian terrain. And based on his vast experience, he is going to deliver his lecture about groundwater prospects in India as well as the Tamil Nadu scenario. He will come and join with us, and we wholeheartedly welcome our Dr. Subramaniam, the Regional Director, Central Groundwater Board. Sir, welcome you, sir. Another one personality, Dr. Professor James, is the professor in Marine Sciences, Madras University. He is also a very good personality and a good researcher. He completed nearly 5 projects in North India, start from Brahmaputra, Ganga, Yamuna, and he recently completed the river basin of southern river basins, especially Kaveri and Nambiar. He knows very well about the surface water quality and the availability, and he predicted some models how to make use of the surface water sustainably. Even though we are in shortage in the surface water and there is a climate change, due to that there is a rainfall, unbelievable, unreliable rainfall, how we can go for managing the water resources side. and he is going to deliver about the surface water and its quality in the different river basins of India, with special reference to our Tamil Nadu. He is going to deliver, and he wholeheartedly accepted invitation, and he is going to present his title of surface water potential with reference to Tamil Nadu. Sir, we wholeheartedly, the Indian History Department and the Center for Water Resource wholeheartedly welcome you to give a lecture on surface water and enlighten our participant as well as our students, sir. And I welcome Professor Hussain, who is uh, head of the Department of Geology in the University of Madras. For invitation, he came and he is going to be observer of our webinar. Sir, welcome you, sir. And I welcome the participants, nearly 310 participants throughout the country, representing east, west, north, south, and there are researchers, students, and the faculty members also part of this webinar. And this webinar, they are choosing this webinar and in the University of Madras. So we wholeheartedly welcome all the participants choosing this webinar in a grand success. So I welcome my own research scholars, faculty members of this university for the wholehearted support to conduct the event, today's event. Thank you all. I welcome all who are all participated in the meet. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It is my privilege to introduce Professor S.S. Sundaram, who is the professor and head of the Department of Indian History. He is a chairperson of School of Historical Studies. He has been a member of Syndicate and is also the member of Conveners Committee of the University of Madras. He is also a member, guided 15 research scholars, has also visited more than 15 countries for academics. We deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Right. Good morning to one and all. Most respected senior historian Professor K. Rajan, Professor Department of History, Pondicherry Central University. Respected Madam Vidya, Professor Director, Institute of Remote Sensing, Anna University. Another keynote speaker, Dr. Subramanian, Regional Director, Central Groundwater Board, Government of India. Arthur James, Professor and Head, Department of Marine Science, Bharatdasan University. Distinguished Professor, my good friend, Professor Bhaskaran, Head, Department of Water Resource Management. Professor Hussain, Head of the Department, Department of Geology, University of Madras. My colleagues, Professor Madheswaran, Kodanraman, distinguished professors, faculty members from University of Madras, affiliated institution of our university, friends, students, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to one and all. I am very happy to meet you this morning through this virtual meet. Our dear friends, our ancestors showed great scientific acumen and a temper and creativity in developing water bodies and protecting them. Our archaeological evidences and literary works indicate that our ancestors showed great interest in the creation. The Kallane Dam, one of the and other ancient tanks and lakes across Tamil Nadu and other states, is a testament to this important fact. But with great sadness, I say that we have neither inherited our ancestors' keen interest in preserving water bodies, nor we have protected our environmental as our forefathers did in a few countries. One environmental estimate, one environmental estimate says that out of possible hundreds of lakes and tanks in 3 districts surrounding Chennai, Kanjipuram, Thiruvalluvar, nearly half of the remain is a encroachment. Particularly, the shocking fact indicates our callousness and lack of respect for water bodies. Thiruvalluvar, who authored Tirukural, probably the greatest secular treatise, in one of these couplets say, "நீரின்றி அமையாத உலகு," which means without water there is no world. A simple and profound statement. I would even say, without water there would be no life on earth. But as the dominant species on this planet, we humans have failed to create and preserve this unique resource that is so essential of human existence. Centuries of abuse of water bodies have now resulted in a scarcity of these unique resources. Now we can force it to look for alternative life, converting seawater into usable water. While it is laudable that new scientific technology is helping us convert seawater into potable water, it is a more essential that we continue our efforts. Our research is creating, particularly today workshop, and maintaining our water bodies. Data from various reliable sources indicate that our water table across our country is going down drastically. It is imperative that we take measure on various fronts of safeguard our water bodies, increase the water table, provide access to clean drinking water to our teeming message. I am sure this national workshop integrated under sustainable management water resources is one step in the right direction toward achieving those goals. Dear friends, I want to tell one issue. The last Monday, 14th Monday, the Jal Shakti minister announced in the parliament, இந்தியாவில் உள்ள நீர்நிலைகள் ஆக்கிரமிப்பில் தமிழகம் முதலிடம் என்று அறிவித்துள்ளார்கள். இந்தியாவில் அதிகமான நீர்நிலைகள் உள்ள ஆந்திரத்தில் கூட அந்த அளவுக்கு ஆக்கிரமிப்பு இல்லாமல் தமிழகம் முதலிடத்தை வகிக்கிறது என்றால் மிகவும் ஒரு வேதனையான செய்தியாக இந்த நேரத்திலே பதிவு செய்ய வேண்டியுள்ளது. குறிப்பாக தமிழகத்தில் 1,06,952 1,06,952 வாட்டர் பாடிஸ். அந்த வாட்டர் பாடிஸ்ல ஏறத்தால 8,366 வாட்டர் பாடிஸ் என்க்ரோச்டு பை பப்ளிக் அப்படின்னும் போது எந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு வேதனையான செய்தி. குறிப்பாக இங்கே வரலாற்று அறிஞர் பேராசிரியர் ராஜன் அவர்கள் நம்மிடையே நீலகண்ட சாஸ்திரி அவர்கள் சோழனுடைய காலத்துல சோழர்கள் எப்படியெல்லாம் நீர்நிலைகளை பராமரித்தார்கள் என்றும் கிருஷ்ணசாமி ஐயங்கார் அவர்களுடைய கருத்துக்கள் எல்லாம் குறிப்பாக மிகவும் தெளிவாக இங்கே நம்மளுடைய வரலாற்று ரீதியாக பேச உள்ளார்கள். இந்த நேரத்தில் நான் என்னுடைய கருத்துக்களை பதிவு செய்து I am confident that the discussion during this seminar, this workshop, will help in preserving water bodies and creating awareness about it. With these words, I would like to congratulate all the participants of this seminar, and I wish the very best for this event to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful remarks. Now it is time for us to get into the heart of today's event. To enlighten us on different aspects of integrated and sustainable management of water resources, we have with us four great speakers. I would like to add a point here that if you have any doubts or clarifications or any questions, please put it in the chat box or the comment box, and it will be discussed in the later part of the session. To start with the first session, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the first speaker of today, Dr. K. Rajan. Dr. Rajan is the head of the Department of History at the Pondicherry University. He has completed BA and MA in History from the Madras University, PG Diploma in Archaeology from the School of Archaeology, MA in Sociology from Annamalai University, and received doctorate for working on megalithic culture in Coimbatore region from the Mysore University. His areas of specialization includes archaeology of South India, field archaeology, early historic archaeology, and Indian epigraphy. He has an experience of more than 20 years in the academic field. Dr. Rajan has been conferred with the Best Teacher Award twice at Pondicherry University and a Certificate of Achievement by the Shanghai Archaeology Forum. He has also received the Kalaignar N. Karunanidhi Classical Tamil Award from the Central Institute of Classical Tamil. He has published more than 60 papers, nationally and internationally. Who else would be ideal to enlighten us on the topic of water management practices in ancient India with special reference to Tamil Nadu? Over to you, sir.
Sir, sir, unmute பண்ணுங்க sir.
Of course, sorry. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I am grateful to Dr. Bhaskaran and Dr. Sundaram for giving this great opportunity to interact what we have surveyed in the early part of Tamil Nadu. And also we have done a good number of work in Pudukkottai region with regarding to water management system. At the moment, I am carrying the endangered archival program from British Library, documenting the entire sluice that are available in Pudukkottai region. So with this water management is not new to us, but it is there for more than 5,000 years. In the case of the earliest water management system that could be witnessed in Indus Valley civilization, particularly at Dholavira. As you are well aware that though we call it as a Indus Valley civilization, beyond Indus Valley, we are having several archaeological sites in Gujarat, particularly where I have surveyed in a Saurashtra region. In one of the site close to Gulf of Campe and also on the Kutch region, Greater Line of Kutch, we are having a site called Dholavira. That is the earliest so far identified water management system in the entire ancient civilization. None, even we are having a drainage system, none either civilization of Egypt or Mesopotamia or Chinese. We are not having any underwater drainage system. But whereas the Indus Valley, we are having underwater drainage system. The same way, all around Dholavira, we are having several tanks, and each tanks have been fed by the channels from different parts. What you presently call it rain harvesting system. That system sustained that urban center for more than 1,500 years. So from the time of Indus Valley, we are having a better management system. However, what happened in Tamil Nadu? Really, we are having a better management system in Tamil Nadu. Just I would like to share my PPT. Just a moment. Are you able to see? Sir, could you see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So what happened in the peninsular India, where it is a subtropical region when compared with Indus Valley, where the water is so perennial? We are having a lot of references in Sangam literature, starting from Tolkappiyam onwards, but different terms where they are using, like a Kutchrai. So there are two terms, is Kutchrai and Madai. There are two terms that are interchangeably used. Here the Kachrai means blocking a water course actually, but whereas the Madai means it is allowing the excess water to overflow to the next tank. So that we call, that means you are having the water channel also clearly mentioned in Agananuru and Purananuru, and also Kayam is also is mentioned for that, and Eri, Purnanatrupade, the latter part of the Sanskrit literature, we are getting the term like a Eri. And same way, if you take the entire scenario of the eastern part of Tamil Nadu, and you are having a Kaveri Delta, in this Kaveri Delta, you are having always perennial and you are having a plenty of water channel. As rightly pointed out by our Professor Sundaram, the earliest diversion from Kaveri water we found at Musri. There is an inscription also available in the Musri, and this is it is called Peruvalathan Vaikal, but it is mentioned by the Pallava king Mahendravarman. So since none of the king will give the credit to other king unless otherwise it has been already produced to that channel. So it seems since Pallava king himself is telling that it is a Valathan or Peruvalathan Vaikal, it is definitely, it would have been, the credit must goes to Karihalar, the Sangam age king. So around 1st century BC or AD, where we have having the poem, the Pattinapalai. So that way, from it seems that Kaveri water has been started diverting from at least from 2000 years ago. But the entire survey which we have taken that within the Kaveri deltaic region, and it shows that not only one archaeological site, there are several archaeological sites. You could see the density of the settlement pattern that are available in Kaveri deltaic region from the time of Sangam age, or if we can say that Iron age also. This is density clearly shows that the water bodies there is perennial. Because of the perennial, there was an agricultural activities. And same previous to this historical site, about 4,000 years ago, we are having a plenty of archaeological sites, particularly the urn burial sites, what we popularly called Mudumakkal Thali, that is all available in the eastern part of this coastal area. So when in another level, take it that modern period or historical temples that were found in this Kaveri Delta region are close to these water bodies. And what happened to other regions? For instance, if you take it Pudukkottai region, one of the dry zone, undulating land, there is no perennial river, only Vellar and Agniyar is flowing in this district. And how these people have sustained, and because we are getting the great Velir, what we call Irukku Velir of Kodumbalur, when we are moving from Tiruchi to Madurai, it is located on the highway of when Kannaki is moving from Pumbugar to Tiruchi and from Tiruchi to Madurai, he has came and stopped here at the place called Kodumbai, the ancient name of Kodumbalur. It is the ruling ruler was at the time was Irukkuvelir, the clan group. And here the three highways are diverting. One is going via Sherumalai, and another one going Velmalai, and another going via Pudukkottai. The present highway is really the central one, which is going through Varalimalai and Melur. And what happened to these three regions are known for two regions, particularly Chengalpattu region, also known for the tank irrigation. So the irrigation tanks played a vital role in the social development and also the sustaining the development for longer period of time, starting from Pallava times up to Vijayanagar times up to 16th century. We are having a literary as well as inscriptional evidences. So when you see the archaeological sites in Pudukkottai region alone, we are having a more than 200 archaeological sites have been identified on ground. Whether these archaeological sites are anything related to the water bodies is very, very important one. You could see the density of the Iron Age sites as well as that historical site. If you take it into the consideration, there are several terms are is to indicate water body. And first one is Kulam, is generally found in the inscriptions. And the second one is that little the Kulam has been converted into area. There are several references also. The Iruppai Klavan in the Satur region, he clearly says that I have converted this Kulam into area. So bigger water body is called area. And we are having, besides, we are having Andal, that is the water body little above the ground level, but it has been covered by the bank on all the sides. That is called Andal because it is Endi Nitpadu, that is called Andal. Then we are having Tadaham, that generally this term is used in the Pallava inscriptions, which has been created by the king. Generally, the state directly involved in this creation of the are converting the ancient tank into a Tadaham. That is what Mahendra Tadaham is, the one which is created by the Pallava king Mahendran Varman. And here, there are small water bodies also has been taken into account. And when we go for Neolithic site, something like a Krishnagiri district and Dharmaburi district, normally they call it that as Junai. So the perennial pond also have been maintained. Even today it has been maintained. The cattle raising people particularly who are living on the hillock is mostly depend upon these small water bodies like perennial ponds. They call it Junai. And also the rock center close to this Junai, and also the several archaeological sites close to these water bodies, small water bodies. And what happened, the Kulam falls under two major categories now in the present context. The one is called system tank, the river fed one. The non-system tank also, there what we are having rain harvesting system. If you take a Tulhapiam, that is Kachare is mentioned, Kal is mentioned, Kayam is mentioned, Eri is mentioned, and also Kulam also mentioned. Then interestingly, Kumuli is mentioned in Malaybadu Kadam. So Kumuli is one of the interesting hydraulic device that has been developed by the people around 5th century AD, what we are having the inscription evidences. But without inscription, we are having certain Kumulis available within the sluices available within the tank even today. That maybe goes back to even 3rd century AD, but we are not having any inscription evidence for that. However, we are having inscription evidences from clear inscription evidence from 7th century. And we are having literary evidence from Sangam age for mentioning about the Kumuli. And Madahu also mentioned. So the Kinar, Keni, all these all been also mentioned in the Manimekalai and also Chilapadiharams. So keeping these all views, we are having there are about 40,000 tanks spread all over the state of controlled by the historical rulers. So now the number of tanks goes up, and nearly 61% of them are concentrated in Singalpattu, North Arcad, and South Arcad, Ramanathapuram, and Pudukkottai districts. And if you take it, the Pudukkottai region alone consists of 5,128 tanks. So almost more than 5,000 tanks are available. And if you take it to the Kulattur, as per the gazetteer documentation, 1,968 tanks are available. The taluk itself is called Kulattu Ur. So there we are having a Thirumayam, another 1,500 and also. And we are having Pudukkottai, the less number of 600, around 533. And we are having Arandagi Taluk, another 533. And we are having Alagudi, also 500. So if we see that among the two taluks, the Kulattur, Thirumayam, and presently called Shilupur and Margavuri also, these regions, Viralimalai, Thirumayam, Kulattur, Ilupur, and part of Pudukkottai is studded with large number of irrigation tanks. And if you take the PWD data, if you take it the present day PWD data, and there are 483 in Alagudi Taluk, 483 is controlled or it is maintained by the communities, local communities. It is not supported by the government agencies. Like that, we are having 5,824, almost 75% of them were actually maintained by the community, by the local communities. The PWD maintains about 1,955, but the 3,000, this 9,055 or 955 tanks alone, we are having sluices of around 2,673 sluices. And out of which, what we have documented, also we are having more than 100 sluices are having a inscription dating back from 1300 BP, or I can say 7th century AD down to the Vijayanagara time of 16th or 17th century AD. So the tank capacity, if you take a million square meters, it goes about 350.01. So the Ayakat area almost 120,000 acres. So it is not a small effort of the communities. It is a bigger activities of the communities or involvement of the communities that is being still maintained in this region. So epigraphical sources, if you say there are 1,700 published inscriptions are available related to irrigation alone. And in that, we are having nearly 500 inscriptions speaks directly on tank irrigation. That means it deals on the water management system, whereas the 1,700 tells about the tank that are available in this region, Pudukkottai region alone. And if you take 160 inscription converts on sluice, that is called popularly called Kumuli in this region, or Madai in this region. And if you take into the two category of epigraphical resources, one inscription found directly on the hydraulic device. This is more important for us. Even the major part of the inscriptions belongs to the community, not by the king or by the great rulers. Actually, community directly involved in establishing these hydraulic devices, which deals on the erection or construction of this hydraulic device, popularly called Kumuli. And the second one, the inscription found on the temple walls, which provides indirect information on the tank irrigation, the dispute between them, how much tax you have to pay to the temple or how much tax you have to pay to the state. All this information which gives in the temple inscriptions found on the temple walls. So in if you take it, almost we have surveyed now at the moment we have surveyed about 5,000 square kilometer was explored intensely without leaving any villages, and 427 historical sites were already documented. So out of almost you could see the 10%, although every 10 square kilometer you are having minimum one historical site. And besides, we are having 125 archaeological sites dating back from Iron Age times down to 13th century CE, that archaeological site, but others are historical sites. So if you put all together, we are having almost 550 sites in this Pudukkottai region alone. So more than 300 sluices have been identified. What the problem which we are facing as an historian or as an archaeologist, all the sluices are not having inscription, but all the sluices are still being used in this Pudukkottai region. Nearly 115 sluices had inscription, which we have documented, stating from datable between 7th century CE to between 15th century CE. Almost we are having 700 or 800 years of continuous history on water management system. And if you take a historical settings of this region, we have started getting a Neolithic period, what we popularly call the people have moved from food gathering to food production stage. So when the food production stage comes, there you require the water, the necessity of protecting water bodies, or taking the water out of the tank for irrigation. So whether it has been initiated from the Neolithic time also, we don't have any evidence on ground as on today. Probably it would have been existed, but in our survey, we could not come across such evidences. However, from Iron Age time onwards, from 2000 BCE, almost 4,000 years ago, the people have started using these tanks for cattle rearing and also for agricultural purpose. So about 1,500 years, this tank is being utilized. without installation of the sluices. And after that only they started the historical period, particularly the early historical period. This from 600 BC onwards, we are getting evidences related in what we popularly call Tamil Brahmi inscriptions are available in Pudukkottai region. And the historic period, of course, after that we are having a plenty of evidence. As I told you, there are 115 inscriptions are right available right on the sluices itself. So these are the Iron Age burials, or what we popularly call megalithic monuments, located close to Chittanavasal. Chittanavasal is a Jain center, and it is continued even Pandya period also. Maravaram inscription also available, and we are having continuous history at this site. These are Iron Age sites, probably datable to around 1000 BC, about 3000 years ago. And we are having a Tudayur and also close to Chittanavasal. And you can see that this is a tank. And at the water spread area, we are having a large number of megalithic monuments. It is one of the interesting feature of Pudukkottai region. If you go to any tank of ancient tank, this you can see this megalithic monument. Two things you can learn from this one. One is that the tank is in existence from the time of 2000, even 1000 BC, and 3000 years ago. This tank is in existence, for which the people have utilized creating a burial. And secondly, these rituals are taking place. All the habitation, the settlements are at the other side of the tank, and all the graves, they are on the water spread area of the tank. And if you could see, this is the tank, what is Dainipatti. And here you could see all megalithic monuments are there. So you can see that this is the megalithic monuments of datable to 1000 BC or before that. And this is what we popularly call chamber tombs or cyst burial with a slab circle. And we are having, you can see the behind that there is a sluice which is having a inscription datable to 10th century. There are temple also here. So this monument says that it is 1000 years or 3000 years old, and this inscription says that it is again 1000 years old. This is 3000 years old. So that way, this tank in existence from the time of 1000 BC, almost 3000 years, this tank is in existence. That there is a continuous inscriptions are available from this site. And if you can see that when the water level is rises up and it will be submerged, when the water level goes down, this megalithic monuments comes up. So we have documented several Sulis inscriptions. Very interestingly, most of the Sulis inscriptions are located where you are having undulated land. The same Arandangi Taluk or Avudiyar Taluk and Manalmelkudi are coastal districts of Pudukkottai region. He has not come across this type of device. It means this device is not useful in the plain area. That's why we are not getting any sluices in the plain area in like a Kaveri deltaic region, or in the deltaic region we are not getting. Whereas in the upper part of the region where you are having a basin area, where you are having these type of sluice inscriptions. And the excavation clearly shows that these are the flows or hose used for agricultural purpose or tilling the land. So here it is very clear that the people are started doing agricultural activities or involved in agricultural activities in the Iron Age. And if you take that, not only that, the surplus production, surplus availability of the land, and also the rise of the bund and creating a lot of tanks, created urban centers, trade centers, and religious centers, which led to the lot of rituals, increase in the rituals. So we are having a cyst burial, chamber tomb, stone circle, current circle, urn burial, sarcophagus. All megalithic monuments are available in this area. So these are the beautiful parts they have made. It is indirectly indicate their sophistication of their life, right? Because of the water management system. If you say Chittanavasal, there is a rock shelter where that Jain monks used to come there, and they express the philosophy of Jainism to the local people. The local people, in memory of these monks, they created a Jain beds. That in the Jain beds, you are having an inscription at the Chittanavasa. This is a rock shelter. In that, you are having a Jain bed, and the Jain beds having an inscription written in the brow or in the bed of these Jain beds. And here you can see the Brahmi inscription, which says that this is here Erumayur Nattu Kumattur Piranda Kavadiyan Tanakku, that is mentioned there in of 3rd century BC. That means about 2300 years ago, which is mentioning about the Erumayur. Erumayur means it is a Mysore. The now Erumai means Mahisasura, and Ur. The Mahisasura Ur has become Mysore. So the man who hails from Mysore, he came here and settled in Chittanavasal, and he has taught Jain philosophy to the people. In memory of them, in commemoration of his teaching, the local people have dedicated this Jain bed to this man. So it is very clear that we are having at the foothill, we are having a Iron Age monument with the settlement, and we are on the top of the hill, we are having a rock shelter, and in between we are having a rock cut shrine. So that rock cut shelter or rock cut shrine, clearly a Pandya king. It shows that there is a continuous history at Chittanavasal. Even today it exists. So that way we can reconstruct the usability or the sustaining of these water bodies for longer period of time by the local communities without involvement of the state also sometimes. Most of the time, the state is not directly involved. Only when the dispute comes, the government comes and settles it, not that too, because of collection of the tax. So these all the in calligraphically belongs to 4th century AD. Which one I have shown is a 3rd century BC, and we are having a 4th century AD inscription. We are having a say 8th century AD inscription. You are having a 10th of Chola inscription also available. Vijayanagar also available. In another place called at Kodumbalur and Kudumiyan Malai, you are having a Brahmi inscription here written, and the agricultural production or the sustaining the creation of the highways and the large area of settlement, the increased number of tanks brought the trade. This is a Roman gold coins, belongs to the Augustus and Tiberius and Vespasian. It has been belongs to 1st century BC and AD. These coins are we found at Karkakuruchi in Pudukkottai region on the highway that connecting the coastal port town and also interior villages like what we call the famous Pari Vale is ruled by Pranmalai, and also Vallayur Tanda Puda Pandian is mentioned in Sangam literature. That is Vallayur is in this, later on it became Vallayur Kutram, and also Urattur Kutram also available in this region. And Irukkuvelir also belongs to this region. The famous Muttarayar also belongs to this region. So the famous communities, clan groups like Velir and Irukkuvelir and also Muttarayar, all were available in this region. Also Pandyas also included in this region. What we call it is a area between Pandyas and Cholas. So this region is so important politically, socially, and culturally. And the one of the earliest, biggest or largest inscription found at Pulanguruchi of 4th century AD. This inscription is just the tank is on the left side, and we are having a sluices. And you see that out of the sluices, you are having a paddy field here. Just opposite to the paddy field, you are having a huge inscription, which mentioning first time the settlement of Brahmadeya. That means a settlement is given to the Brahmin community, and also Devadana, and also the both are Jain center, Tamadapalli. So the Palli is mentioned. That means Jainism is there, or Buddhism is there, Hinduism is there. All that is first time we are getting an inscription which clearly states about the state formation tax system Even the tax officer also available called Perundinai. So these are the inscription that shows from Brahmi to Vattaluthu script, the transformation not only in the paleography of the inscription, that also the transformation also taking place in the society also. So earliest inscription evidence on hydraulic device, directly on the hydraulic device, is found the brick enclosure. It is called as Madai, dated to 7th century, 1300 years ago, found at Anathur in Changam Taluk of Tiruvannamalai district. This is the earliest water blocking device, what we call it. So here, the two upright rectangular slabs installed on either side of the structure carry the inscription, namely Guna Mili, one of the titles of Pallava king Mahendravarman I. You see, these are the Anathur. Unfortunately, when I have visited the site in 1996 or 95, 96 or so, this was in existence. Now, again, I went for to taking a video and photograph. This has been dismantled. So we are every alternative day, we are losing the evidences, the physical evidences from the surface because of urbanization, globalization, industrialization, or vandalism that is happening within the public community. So this is the inscription which was mentioned here on the Guna Mili. That is the title of the Pallava king Mahendravarman I. And if you take it, earliest evidence again on the sluice comes from Rasalipatti in Pudukkottai region, installed during the 25th regnal year, corresponding to 756 AD or CE of Pallava king Nandivarman. So this the second earliest datable, this could be the second earliest datable sluice, is noticed in the tank called Kavinattu Kanmai. That Kavinadu means it was previously it is called Kavitpal. That's just about west of Pudukkottai town. There is one of the biggest tank available in Pudukkottai region, and also it is called Kavinattu Kanmai in the inscription, and also the territorial division is called Kavitpal. So this is installed by Pandya king Varagunan of in 7th regnal year, corresponding to 775 CE. That means almost again there is 1300 years ago. The Komaran Sadayan is the inscription mentioned there. This is what we call Rasalipatti inscription. In the earlier date, they have kept it. This is called Sathukkal, and this is called Manavalakal. Manavalakal they call there are these two stones are called, one is male, one is female. Male is Manavalakal and female is Petakal, and it will be connected by two horizontal slabs that has broken. But below that there is a stone which is having an inscription which installed here. It is written clearly Sri Nandi Potharaisaruku Yandu 25வது. So here Pullan is Arida Pullan Mahan Pullan, like that it has written. Very interesting part is that Kat Kumuli is written there, stone sluice. So why they are mentioning, instead of mentioning a Kumuli, they are mentioning Kat Kumuli, means that it has been converted, the brick structure has been converted by the king from a brick to stone. So the conversion, because of the conversion, they call it is called Kat Kumuli. It is written as a Kat Kumuli is clearly written. Yes, clearly is mentioned so and so has Sevita. Sevita means he is the man who erected this sluice. And you can see that Sri Nandi Potharaisaruku Yandu 15வது Sri Aridaman Pullan, it is there. Mahan, here is written Mahan, Pullan, Kadamban, Sevita Kat Kumuli. So Kat Kumuli is very, very important for in a water management system is concerned. And you see the Pudukkottai town, and which is you are having the biggest tank. That is the road which is leading to Ponnamaravati. And this tank is having at the center point. We are having several Nadumadai, they call it. These are two Kadamadai, and where is here. And at the Nadumadai, we are having the huge tank when the water body is there, and you could see that in that there is a sluice. In the sluice we are having an inscription here. The inscription is very much here. Sri here Pandya king name is mentioned here. So Komaran is mentioned here. So that way in his 8th regnal year is also mentioned here. Elavadu is mentioned here. Yandu. So it is all clearly shows that the people or king is directly involved in establishing a sluice and constructing a water tank or expanding the already existing water tanks created by. So the territorial division, Mudandi, Perundini is a high revenue official. Perundinai means is a Thinai means a revenue office. So Perundinai means he is a like RDO, present revenue divisional officer. So he has constructed. His name is Vengan. He has constructed this Kumuli. So it is say with the. So that way there are a lot of sluice. One important point which I would like to express: none of the sluice is on the bund or the bank. It is little interior of the bank. The deepest point it will be there, and this one is called Madai or sluice and or Kumuli. That I will tell you why it is called Kumuli. This is called Aha Madai. Aha Madai means there will be a small chamber will be there. All the water will which will percolate inside. Most of the silt will be settled down. So this is Ahamadai, and the one which is spill bend, that is on the outside, that will be called Puramadai. So even today it is in these sluices are being utilized by the common man. Even today the community is utilizing these sluices. What I wish to say that on the sluices which installed 1,000 years ago still is being utilized by the people in Pudukkottai region. You just imagine the engineering skill. We need not to have any. We need not to expect any certificate from any engineer, because we are having this sluice survived for more than 1,000 millennium years. So that way, this sluice stands as a testimony for our engineering skill and also water management system. And we used to go in the dry zone times, and we used to copy the inscriptions, and also sometimes when the water is so high level, we used to swim across these water bodies, and we'll stand on the stone and we'll take the inscription like that. Sometimes to copy to inscription we require 4 or 5 people, because we have to carry paper, we have to establish material, somebody has to read, somebody has to take photograph, and these are the called satukal. So that the sluice will not be tilted on in either direction. So we are having such inscription in all the sluices that we have documented. Sometimes they inscribe on the top of it also. So my field work also stopped because of the high water level in the sluices, and next time after May or June again we are going back to copy this inscription in Pudukkottai region. So that way you could see that our students are struggling a lot to take copy of these inscriptions. And one of the important temple that has been constructed in Narthamalai, that is the original name is called Nagarattar Malai. That means third Gildor's hillock. On this hillock, this is a rocky surface. In the rocky surface, there was a sluice. In the sluice was very tough to make a channel below this rocky surface. The greatest contribution of that Kal Tachan, that is the stone carpenter, what we call it, is that contribution of him. So he made a hole below this rocky surface. The water comes out of it. So in memory of that one, the communities or the king has donated land to this carpenter who made this sluice. So that is mentioned here. You can see this Vijayaleshwaram, the earliest Chola temple is located on the hilltop, and we are having a rocket temple just opposite to this temple, and below that you are having these sluice, and the water is going below this rock. Here the mud is made of rock. So you could see there are several such Punpeti. Again, it is in Aranagi Taluk, and you can see that the water level, there are 4 horizontal slabs, all have been submerged. So the water is so high here. You could see that here how it operates. That is very, very important. You are having a 2 vertical slab and 2 are pillars. One is called Manavalakal, one is called Patikal. This is called Mindakam, the connecting horizontal slab, having a hole here, also hole here, also hole here. So when the water is so high, they will insert one pole inside, and it will go through that one, and it will go through this hole, and also it passes through this hole like this one, and finally it reaches at the bottom. At the bottom, see that this way the hole will go down, and after that there will be at the bottom you are having one hole which is connected by a conduit, what we call tumbu. Tumbu means a water channel, like a tumbikai, what you call in elephant, you call it tumbikai. Tumbu means underground water channel. So this water will go like this one, and here, and finally there will be a final bottom hole will be there, like this one. There will be maybe 1 or 2, and this will be blocked, completely blocked by a round body or round in a wooden piece. And this one is called Serodi. Serodi means sludge remover. What it will be also blocked. When any sludges are blocking this channel, what we call tumbu, this one is called tumbu, and when the water is blocked, they will close this one, and they will remove the wooden piece from here, so that the water will go with high speed directly into the tumbu. It will be completely clean. This is one of the biggest engineering skill our ancient people had when they want to clear the sludges that made inside the channel. So there are 3. So sometimes 3 will be open if the water is so high, the water table, 3 will be open, or sometimes 1 will be open according to the need of the water. Accordingly they will swim. So what they will do here, in the case, the man will go by swimming, and he will be standing in here, and he will inserting this pole, or also removing the pole. That man is called Neerali. Even today we are having a Neerali in Pudukkottai region, the fellow who controls the discharge of water in the tanks. So this one, as I told you, this is a Serodi. When the water is coming here, and the air will come out of it. Because of the air is coming out of it, the bubbles will come out of it. So since the bubble is coming as a kumil, that's why it is called kumuli. Madai means the water you are blocking, maduttu. Because of that you are having a madai. So these are called 2 Serodi, what we call sludge remover. So through that, if the sludge is so high, or it is density of the sludge is so high, they can remove 2, or they remove only 1. Depends upon the need they will do. This all made out of stone. And you could see that one, and you can see that we have excavated one sluice, and see that how it is functions. So these are the excavations that we have carried, and you can see that now another important fact. You can see that for the longer period of time, they are not removing because of the PW control. So they are not removing, the desilting operation is not taking place. Because of that, there is accumulation of siltation here. This also gives one type of evidence for us. For the past 1,000 years, how much siltation has taken place in this particular tank can be identified. And secondly, if you take a soil sample and send it for polar analysis or phytolithic study, we can identify what are the vegetation systems were there in and around or in the catchment area of this tank. So paleobotanical study also indirectly helps us to reconstruct the paleo environment that we are doing with the French Institute of Pondicherry and also Birbal Sagani Paleo Sciences in Lucknow. And we are also working on diatom study with Agarkar Research Institute in Pune. And we are also collecting any bones that are coming from there. We are working with different biological institutions. So we are also dating based on, we are going for actual AMS dating and also radiocarbon dating we are doing. So that way we are trying to reconstruct the entire history of this tank based on the inscriptions and also scientific data that are available in the form of soil analysis and also biological analysis. You see today at Satyamangalam, you see the people are still holding though it has broken, still it has been inserted inside, and though it is not, they are not using. And if you excavate that one, you can see that we cleared that one. We got that share OD, and you can see the pole is there intact. And this time, sometimes they close it with a stone. Even today, they are closing with a stone instead of wood. So this one inscription says that this water is entering through this Tumbu underground channel. This is underground channel. When you remove the pole, the water enter into this. So it will never touch the bank. So this disruption of the bank or the bund will not take place. So they make a U-shaped laterite slab, another U-shaped laterite slab. They one kept upon the other, making the channel sometimes. This is out of laterite. This is out of stone. They make a stone, and on that they will keep a slab. So one slab I removed, again I replace it to see how much water will pass through this channel. That because the inscriptions mentioning that this much of water, Naligai is mentioning this much of water has to be discharged through this channel. This is called Chatukal because sometimes the slab may fall. So for that they are keeping this Chatukal. So you can see the bud here. And you can see there is another type of Chatukal also available in RU. And you can see this is called Akamadai. So the water will come and it will stand here. Sometimes siltation, the entire soil will not enter, so that the water will percolate through this way. So that the sludge will be not blocking the water inside the Tumbu. So this is again another side. You can see the tank, and you are having things. Even though this is not in use, because you see that the horizontal slab has broken, people as a distant memory, they still they are worshipping. You see that they installed these sulas, and also you can see the mala will be there, and also garland has been as see. This is completely not being used, but still the people are as a distant memory. They are worshipping these fluids. Because of these fluids, the entire lifestyle has been changed. So there are technical terms are used in Kulam, a small water body known as tank, which serves as a small irrigated area called Ayakat. Then they said Kanmai, Kanmai, because these tanks empty themselves. The water will comes through the a hole that is called the water maital. That water is coming out of this kan, out of this hole. That's why it is called Kanmai. Now it has become Kammai. So that is a corrupt form of Kanmai. Is that the original term is Kanmai? Now it is called Kammai in this area. So without knowing the meaning of that, they are understanding that they are telling this, using these words. So there are karai. I am only taking these technical terms from the inscription directly. A karai is mentioned, the bank or embankment. And you are having munkulam. That means the riveted inner slope of the tank, which is sometimes laid with laterite, sometimes laid with a stone. So which is inscription clearly says this munkulam is a slope is completely laid with a stone. So where the munkulam is a place where the sluice is installed. And second one is that madai, the structure diverting water course. What I have shown Ahamadai and Puramadai, where you are blocking the water, to enter into the sluice is called Madai. So now the Kumuli has been submerged in Chengalpattu region. The Kumuli term is not being used. Only the Madai is being used. So then Tumbu, the conduit, which is the underground water channel, is called Tumbu because of the Tumbike, or Tumbu means elephant trunk. And Kumuli is a sluice. Kat Kumuli Vachu, Katkalum Nati. That when the term used Kat Kumuli Vachu, Katkalum Nati, these are two different component of the sluice or this hydraulic device. Kat Kumuli means the one which is you are having hole where the water, bubble is coming out. That Katkalum means the two pillars which are installed on either side, connected by horizontal slab. That called Katkal. It is called female and male because when the female and male joins together through Mindakam, the fertility takes place. That is the way the people used to interpret these pillars by the local people. Then you are having outlet, Vai. Then Talai Vai, the head sluice also mentioned. Then Talai Pali, a kind of spill basin or basin receiving the water from the head sluice is called Talai Pali. And Kalingu is mentioned here. And Ulvail, that means water spread area. And Madahu, a weir with a regulator. Without regulator, you are having weir. Then you are having Aha Madai. You are having blocking of water course inside the tank. Pura Madai, blocking of water course outside the tank. Then Neer Kovai, catchment area. So why I am telling this one means when they are selling a land or selling a village, or then they are telling, what do you mean by tank? In that context, they are telling catchment area, water spread area, the tank area, embankment, sluice, and Tumbu, Puramadai, Ahamadai, and that Neerkovai, that irrigated land, Ayakat, all together has been sold. But in the present context, as we modern people think that tank means nothing but a water spread area with an embankment. But the feeding channel, catchment area, all we have forgotten. So, but in the inscription, when they are selling a tank, this all places, this all has been mentioned, telling that this all together we are selling to you, to this particular village. So their concept of tank and our concept of tank entirely differs over the years. So Yetti Chatan, he is a very famous man, a Pandya minister, and he says that he is famously called Irkangudi Kilavan. Kilavan means a title is great. He was a minister of Srimara of 9th century, renovated several Madai installed by the earlier king Nedumaran. Nedumaran has already installed in 8th century, and this man is converting that Madai, or it was built of brick, into stone in the 9th century after 100 years. This inscription itself shows that this tank was in survival for 100 years without any disturbance. The famous inscription issued during the 16th and 18th regular years of Pandya king Sirimara Sri Vallavan. The term Madai denotes a structure built inside the tank. The I official, Anati is an official. Irupakki Kodi Kilavan, Yetti Chatan, converted several existing tanks as reservoirs. He has converted Kulam into Eri at several places like Tenveli and Kudi, Maranur, Irupaikudi, where his original native place, Kuluvur, Ninmeli, Sirputtur, Satanur, and Malagudi. All these enlarged water bodies were called Kilavaneri. In his name, as the title has become Kilavaneri. He enlarged several tanks by restructuring the old banks. What we is mentioning that Palangarai Ilithu, that means there already old embankment is there, that I am converted. Rising the banks, through rising the banks, called Eruvithu. So while renovating the existing tank, he installed stone sluices, Kal Nati, Madai Katpaduthum. So he, Kal Nati, that he installed the pillar, Madai, the blocking of was katpaduttum. That means it was initially it was in brick. Now I am converting into stone. So he installed 3 issues, namely Vepamadai, Punnan Madai, Puguri Madai in Perungulam of Satanur. So that way, our people have taken a very care in renovating, in repairing, and also desiltation, raising a bank, and also clearing the water dispute then and there. The term Madai, Katpaduthum, suggests that the Madai constructed in brick earlier was reconstructed with stone. The epigraph further states that Etti Chatan renovated the Madai installed previously by the king Nedumaran in the middle part of 8th century. It confirms the direct involvement of the kings and higher officials in the construction of tanks or reservoirs and erection of hydraulic devices to regulate water from the tank. So that way, the state and higher officials and communities are involved in the reconstruction. So 3 terms, namely Kumuli, Tumbu, and Madai, are sometimes used interchangeably by nowadays. The people are not understanding the real meaning that stand behind these technical terms. The term Kumuli used in south of Kaveri generally, the term Tumbu used north of Kaveri, and the term Madai used for both Kumuli and Tumbu after 13th century. So, but initially after 500 years or 600 years, the term has been changed. Kat Kumuli Vechi, Kat Kalum Nati. So here Kumuli is clearly mentioned. Nirai Seiran Seivitha Madayum Katkalum. So here Madai is also mentioned, Katkalum is also mentioned. So Madai is different, the pillar is different. So Madayum Adaithu Thumbum Seivitha. Here Madai is mentioned, so that he has made a blocking of the stone. Madayum Adaithu. Thumbum Seivitha. That means a underwater channel he is making. Thumbinindrum Ponda Vaikal. So if the water is going from mouth to Kal means like what we are having a long channel. So if it goes from wall, the Kal, if generates from Y, that is called Vaikal. If the Kal is ends with Y, then is Kal Y. So there is a difference between Vaikal and Kal Y. So Y plus Kal, and here Kal plus Y. So how the water is, how the term they have used very cleverly is very interesting to observe. Peruthumbilum. Perunthumbil means there is a small thumbil also available there. Nadivit tumbilum, there is a central sluice, means there is other sluice also available in other areas. Kalai Neer, that means you are having Kadai Neer. So the first water, right, the last water, right, so that when we are giving a normally Talai Neer, that the first water will goes to the temple land and also some important people, Kadai Neer. And who will get the first water is also mentioned one place, because there was a dispute. The people who are blocking the water, who are close to the tank, they are not permitting the water to come at the end. So the king is ordering. It is very clear, whenever the water is released from the tank, no one should block it. The water has to go to first the last one follow, then only it has to come up to the tank. So from lowermost level to the uppermost level it has to go, not other way. So Nilai Nirkum Kalingittu. So how much water you have to stop without, because the water which is the overflow water goes to the next tank. So the village people, the next village people are telling that you are rising a Kalingi. So because of that, we are not getting a water, the overflow water. In that context, the king says that no, you can't rise the Kalingi without any rising the bund or without allowing the water to the next village. So Nilai Nikkum Kalingittu. So whatever the river water required for you, for that level you keep your height of the weir. Remaining water has to go to the next tank. What cascade tanks? Neerekka Kalingittu Kuduttan. So that way the dispute has been settled down by putting a thread and raising a bund and also controlling the weir, construction of the weir. So that way there were Kulattu Neerkovai. Kulattukku Neerkovai. There are 2 words is used. Kulattu Neerkovai means the water spread area within the tank. Kulattukku Neerkovai, that means catchment area. the water which is coming from the catchment area. So while selling the land, selling the tank, they say that we are selling the Kulattu Neerkovai and also Kulattukku Neerkovai. Both we are selling, and the Kulattu Neerkokkum Neerkovai, that also catchment area. So this much of care they have taken while maintaining the tank, what I wish to say that one. So construction of tank, Kulam Tottu Valam Periki, that is the famous word which is used, Mahendra Tadagam, these are the words which is used by the king, the Pallava kings. And also Yengal Kayyal Manal Oluki Iveri Kattinom. Who has constructing? Whether state is directly involved or state compelling the community to do it. So at the time they are saying Yengal Kayyal, it is in our own hand. Manal Oluki, we removed the mud or and everything we have created this tank or embankment. That is also Iveri Kattinom is also clearly mentioned there. So that way, how to maintaining? Desilting has taken place by called Mean Pattam. Even today, they say that the people will stand on the bank of the tank, and the one man will raise the cloth, and all the people will run inside the tank and they occupy area. Whatever the fishes are available, they will take the fish and also they remove the D. So desilting is taken place regularly every year. And bud raising also has taken place. There are several references. Expansion of tank also has taken place, and strengthening of bunds also has taken place, and cleaning of conduit also has taken place. That all there are a lot of references on this. Because of lack of time, I could not go deeper and deeper. Re-erection of broken water regulatory devices. Alindu Bona Katkumali, they are reconstructed event. There are Kudikadu Kulam. Kudikadu means, Kadu means it was a barren land earlier. After the conversion of tank, new settlements is taking place there. That is called Kudikadu. So Kudikadu Kulam means the settlement associated with this Kulam. This is tank. Udai Kulamai, that is broken. Kade Ilundu. So it was begun and it will become so lot of bushes. So then they have repaired that one, Kulam Kallivikke. So again there, Kulatil Neerum, Patrade, Nadu, Pala, Irundu, Pattu, Kidakayil. So he is very clear that Kulatil Neerum Patrade, there is not sufficient water because of the non-maintenance of the tank. Nade, Pala, Irundu. So the entire region is become dry. So Pattu Kidakayil, Idukku, Yengal, Pattile, Kulam Kattuvom. So they are writing, they are constructing a tank. So like that, there are several phrases are available to understand how they have constructed, how they have maintained, how is the dilation architecture, how the water is distributed. That is very, very important. For instance, this inscription, Swasasri Kulasera Devarukku Vallayur. So here, Vallayur Mangalam, we are having a Sangam literature. This village is called Vallayur. It is a small village, and later on it became a Brahmin settlement, Vallayur Mangalam, during the time of Kulashekara of the Pandya king. So several inscriptions clearly shows the connectivity between the 3,000 years and also connecting between the Pandyas or Savas or Cholas or Vijayanagar period. So 1,500 year history you can clearly see through the inscriptions. This is Swastasri, Ko Paragesari, Panmarukku, and this was Parandaka first Chola king installed in front of the tank at Pulangurichi. So there are several settlements has created because of the tank. Settlement taken place. Ur or Kudikadu has taken place. This village has become a temple land, temple village that is become Nallur. Or it has been the village has been given to Brahmin, it became Brahmadevyam, or it became a trade center called Nagaram, like a Nagaratarmalai. So that way, political history, like a Velira Parambumalai, the Pari king area falls in Pudukkottai region. Irukku Velira Kodumbalur also falls in this region, and Vallayur Kutram, Vallayur clan is available, and Muttur Sandan Kutram Pulangurichi, and also Pandyas and also Muttarayar finally. So several clan-based society has emerged because of the tank irrigation, because of the later on Maravar also entered, Karhatha Velaman entered, the people who came from Manaparai entered into the region, the people who are moving from coastal region entered, the people from Sivaganga, Ramanathapuram as a Maravar Thavar also entered this region, which later on we call Padigaval during Vijayanagar times. So there are several political history has been changed, social history has been changed, and the people are fighting for the tank irrigation because it is giving a lot of production. So the formation of territorial division like Ollayur Kutram, Milalai Kutram, Muttutru Kutram, and Pulanguruchi administrative setup where you are having Brahmadev and Tadapalli, all this setup you could say. What happened to that? Economic prosperity led to the Chittanavasal rock shelter, Kudumiyamalai Tamil Brahmin inscription, and the three musical inscription comes from this region only. None of the region of Tamil Nadu having early musical inscription. So it shows that there also no art and architecture and culture also. And Putpanakotai memorial stones also comes from the region. And Vijayalaya Soli is a early Chola temple, Pulanguruchi inscription, Malayadipatti, Thirumayam, Kundandar Koil cave temples are coming here. Sittanaval fresco painting also are all from this region only because of this tank irrigation water management system. And though it is dry, and you can see that on all megalithic monuments are available. You are having Brahmin inscription, Jain beds, and also later inscription, beautiful fresco painting, and also Jain sculptures, and all are available in this region. And also Putpanakotai, where you have the earliest memorial stone from this region of 4th century AD, which is mentioning Angappadai. That means you are having a standing army also available, and the Kongar, that means Pun Kongar, that means the people who came from Kongu region also mentioned here. So there are that way the Vijayalaya Solishwaram, that as we say the tank is here, the entire water comes here and stands here. There's Sulusi is there. What I have told, Narthamalai, the earliest temple. This was a small form of Bragadishwara temple. It is inside this hollow like a Bragadishwara temple. This was the attempt made by the early kings during the Vijayalaya time, how to construct a Vimana in a hollow. So this is the first attempt. So this way architecture developed. These are the inscriptions are available there. Vijayalaya Solishwaram, rocket caves, and you are having a musical inscription here. And Kodumbalur Veli, the Irukku Veli, who was having matrimonial relation with Cholas, who was also contracted on the highway, that is Kodumbalur, Kodumbai, and several Jain sculptures were available close to these tanks, Annavasal and Tiruvadavur, Tiruvipur, and Motchakudi. Now it is called Motchakudi. So several such Jain sculptures clearly shows that these water resources help to the erection of social and political institution. The political and social economic institution has developed because of this water resources, because it is undulated land, dry zone, because water has to is a precious. Rain harvesting is so important for them. The social and political institution also started controlling the water resources. If you read the inscription, most of the people are trying to control the water. For instance, one man is begging the king, sir, I want to carry the water from other side of the road to this side of the road. So the king says, no, 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 this is a highway. You can't carry the water from one side, you can't cut the highway. Then again he is begging. So then the king is ordered, okay, no problem. You have to cut the highway and reconstruct it as it is. However, you have to lay down the pipe or the channel well below the highway so that it could not be disturbed the highway. So it shows that you can't cut the highway without the permission of the king. So even if, but king is also permitting to carry the water from one side to other side. So these are the type of interesting features are available in the. So finally, I wish to say what you mean by tank for us. Kulamum, Kulakarayum. The inscription is mentioning the same I am repeating. Kulamum, Kulakarayum, Kulakalgalum, Kula Nirum, Kula Parapum, Kula Vayum, Kula Varium, Kula Nuirkovayum, Kulatukku Neerkovayum, Madayum, Kalingum, Neer Nilamum. All this includes means a tank. But this we totally forgotten, and during a colonial period, the system is totally collapsed, and they have only PWD, Public Works Department, following the colonial setup. They think that tank means only the water body which we are seeing in today in the villages. So the concept is the dying wisdom. As per our epigraph records, the tank and the hydraulic device established in 8th century is still in use, and the engineering marvelous. This engineering was surveyed for more than 1,200 years, and even today you could go and see that one. Let us appreciate the past and salute to our ancestors. So this percentage just I want to dedicate to my student who deserve the fruits of this research, because who came with me, they copied the inscription, deciphered the inscription, and innumerable scholars, individuals, and institutions who dedicated there for the benefit of this great nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing to us your knowledge and expertise.
Sir, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think I have taken a little time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You enlighten us.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
It was indeed surprising that the importance of water resource management has realized right from the ancient times. Technical terms used in the epigraphical records, and also we realized the importance of community involvement in water resource management. Thank you so much, sir. That was an insightful presentation. Next, we have with us Dr. R. Vidya. Dr. R. Vidya is a professor and senior project leader at the Institute of Remote Sensing, Anna University. She is also the director of CSTAR. Her doctorate work focused on object-based analysis of remote sensing data. Her areas of specialization includes remote sensing, image processing, and water resource management. She has an experience of working with elite institutions like the National Remote Sensing Agency, ISRO, and in Tamil Nadu Electricity Board as assistant engineer and a PG superintendent of exam in Department of Civil Engineering, Anna University. She has published more than 40 research papers in international journals and national journals. She has also received Active Consultant Award from Anna University in 2017. Today, Dr. Vidya is here to enlighten us on the topic of scientific advancement in water resource management. Over to you.
Madam, voice is not audible. Madam, unmute your microphone, please. Your microphone is muted. Thank you, madam.
Now is it audible?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, madam.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Respected professors who have given an exemplary talk on the ancient wisdom on the water management, which always has intrigued me especially, and many people even right now. Whenever we talk about whatever amongst lot of important subjects that we are facing as challenge in the face of climate change, one of the subject which is water resources management, we are always we are slightly aware that we have ancient Indian civilization, and particularly Tamil Nadu, in Tamil, like Dravidian culture, they have done a good job on water management. But the previous talk by Professor K. Rajan has really given a very good feeling about how wise people were. Only the technology has already been established, but only the ways have been shown. Only this present generation need to remember and follow what they have been doing for the greater goods. Sir, I will start my presentation. I am sharing my PPT right now. One second. Is this visible, sir? Are you able to see the? Is it being shared?
No, madam.
No. You are not shared so far.
Yeah, but it is not even showing the unshare. Small. So I'm sorry, it got disconnected.
Otherwise, send up a PPT, madam. We will take care.
I'll send this PPT now. Okay, one second. It is not sharing, getting shared.
Yes, madam, you sharing.
Um,
You can send later.
it's not showing. Maybe you have to make me a presenter or what?
You give your own presentation.
You should make me a presenter because it is not being enabled. Otherwise, I will show you. I mean, give you the. I mean, send you the mail. Sir, what's your email ID, sir?
Bhaskar, give your mail ID.
Mail ID.
Chat box report, madam.
Oh. One second. Sir, it is sent, sir. I have sent it. Okay, I have sent it to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am, we have received it.
Okay, received it.
Bhaskar, check your mail ID, Bhaskar.
Okay, madam, வந்துச்சு.
Okay, I am able to see. I'll go with my presentation. Sorry for the interruption, sir. Somehow it is not enabled here.
Okay, it is coming.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going now with the presentation on the scientific advancements. So with that very interesting talk on the ancient wisdom on water management, I actually prepared my slide to start with the same thing, with a slight gist of what was being done in ancient time, but the sir has covered a lot of it. So can we go to the next slide? So the hydraulic knowledge in India has a historic footprint. Especially in Tamil Nadu, they called it as munnir, which is the water that creates the soil, that nourishes the soil, and then they erodes the soil and move it across. And the water was used for maintaining the soil nutrient and soil bed for the agriculture, and a lot of livelihood was around the agriculture, making it a very prospective land, which culminated into an economically grown and region. Entire India was like that. The scripture says, Tamil scriptures like water maintenance or the management of the water resources. Next, please. So we know the very popular example of this Kallanai, which was built almost at the same time when this Egyptian water management was happening. And many of from what our previous speaker, Professor said, we could understand that even the structures, hydraulic structures and water diversion structures and water regulation structures were also were seen, were found out all across the nation. Next, please. Lakes were, especially in South India, the lakes were given much importance because of the landscape. The water was impounded, stored, and thereby replenishing the groundwater to be drawn from the wells, and also to be drawn from the water that was stored on the surface. A lot of references have been said to be seen across the literature about the water, surface water in Tamil literature. And it was also the Veeranam Lake, Cholavaram lakes. There are a number of lakes which were actually built somewhere around during this Chola period, Pallavas period, and these were the kings who gave a lot of importance for the water, because a lot of, like the previous speaker said, there's a lot of socio-economical implications were because of the water management in the country. We understood that, and then they made the land fertile, thereby making a power structure upon it. Next, please. And the very famous cascades of Tamil Nadu, and especially Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, that southern region, where the water is transmitted and stored across the system of tanks. Not the tank systems, the systems of the tanks, which had both the surplus and supply channels. When a particular tank fills, the excess water is transmitted to the next tank through the canals called the surplus canals. And this surplus canals act as the supply canals to the next, the very next tank, and so on. Such a system of a network of the tanks, thereby not wasting the water, or these are the naturally aligned water recharge structures, we can say. These were found. Even today we are making use of these lakes for our agricultural production. Next, please. So, and there were a lot of references about the administrative structure for the water management also is found in the literature, where they had the Verivarium, Kalingavarium, and other things, which and the Neerkattu, Talakattu, all these are referred in the historical writings, wherein the kings had a very elaborate administrative arrangement to manage the water up to the last farmer. and then they collected the tax from this for the betterment of the nation and other things. So this there were a lot of widespread and very interesting references are found across found in Tamil literature. So this from this, what one can understand, the primary commitment of the kings were to prosper with water and get a power over the water, because of the lands that are adjoining them become fertile, having good production, which leads to the economical activity and which leads again to the prosperous future of the country. So the water conservation and water management, very important talk in many of the literature, like in Patinapalai and other things, even how the cities were handled and how the water getting distributed. That kind of references are said to be there in many of the literature. Next. Not only literature, all across India, there are a lot of references of this water management at a community level and also at a very higher level. The typical example is the pines and ahars that are even today they are being used for the water management or agriculture in Bihar, South Bihar areas, and in Dolivera is an important city in Indus Valley civilization and contained the sophisticated water management system, which are even today can be seen. And agriculture was practiced in large scale, having the extensive networks of canal for irrigation. This kind of canals, even today, we can see in this Kaveri Delta area, which were some of them were natural and most of them were man-made. From the writings we can understand most of them are man-made, following the terrain slope of the terrain. They just followed the slope of the terrain, and this Kolidam river was actually the surplus canal from the Kaveri, having its bed a little bit higher than Kaveri, so that whenever there is a flood coming in Kaveri, the Kolidam will divert this water into this lot of canals that are actually constructed, so that the Kadaimadai, they say, the last farmer or the tail reaching areas of the canals also get the water when required. Next, please. So these are some of the structures. This is the tank cascade, which is the typical scene in the South India, and this is the agar pine, the diagrammatic figure of the agar pines that are found in South Bihar and Gangetic Plain, where the end of the rivulets, there used to be a big pond, which again has the diversion canal, so that the adjacent areas get irrigated. So the main purpose being the agriculture production. And these are some of the this picture shows the Uruni. Uruni is the place where they construct the depression in which the water gets stored. This is said to be the dipping point in that area. So where and all there is a valley point, they constructed Urunis to store the water and to draw the water from, basically to draw the water from, and also to make the water to stand. And when it gets evaporated, there is also, I read somewhere a book in which they call it as the water seeding, where they typically went in for the submergence type of crop, where the water stagnates for a longer period of time during the crop growth period, in which the crop also grows, and at the same time the water gets evaporated, forming clouds for these people to get rain in the next season. So that they call as the water seeding. So these are some very interesting facts about the ancient wisdom with respect to the water management. Next, please. So water, because the water was considered to be a pertinent resource, because the life and survival revolves around it, an essential resource for the development based on the production that we get from the soil and the economical activity that depended on it. And for basic food security and health, the water becomes very important resource. And therefore the goal of the governments being the equitable, sustainable and sufficient availability of the water, which is still a challenge for almost all the governments across the world, especially in this critical period of the climate change, wherein we see ancient time also, people argued that even ancient times, even little bit in 100 years back, people lived, they depended on the agricultural production, they used water still they manage to get water for almost all of the needs. But right now we face the very serious problem with respect to quality and quantity because of the non-equitable amount or usage of water, careless usage of water, reckless maintenance. We do not really care that things have to be maintained. The water management has to. So that is what people's argument, and especially the clustering around the cities and then boom in the industrial activity for their economical benefits has actually made a little bit imbalance in the availability and the usage of the water, which has made the water management as a topic of concern right now. Next slide. Now we jump from this ancient time to the most modern time, now leaving a period in between, which might be handled by some other speakers. So now what we are thinking, we have gotten into the age where we are able to get the remote sensing data, which is a synoptic coverage of the Earth's surface, and those parameters or those information about this water in its every form, right from the cloud to the ground to the subsurface, again back into the atmosphere, where and all we are able to get some kind of inferences about the water with respect to its quality and the quantity. Where and all it's possible we get this information and we try to use this for the water balance studies and other things to understand how this water in terms of its quality and quantity is existing at a place at a time. So a time dependent, a space dependent availability of the information about the water is now important. Now is being received from the remote sensing data. So I basically from the field of remote sensing, wherein I have been using remote sensing data for quite some time. I want to tell you about what are the recent advancements or the most recent advancement with respect to remote sensing, which will help you to get some information directly or indirectly about the water across space and time. So now when we wonder what is this remote sensing, the remote sensing is obtaining information from the satellites about the Earth's surface, not only about the Earth's surface, but also about the atmosphere. We do also have the satellites which are collecting data about the atmosphere, about the clouds, about the sea, and about the land also. So where and all we want to use, or where and all we think that we can get some information that can be related to the water, we'll be still able to do that. Next, please. So we do have active remote sensing and passive remote sensing. There are two types of instruments which are in the orbit or in the space. One is the instrument which sends its own power and then collects back the power that it transmits. The difference between the transmitted signal strength or its frequency or its polarization and the received signal, the difference between this tells something about the object that it has interacted when it travels across. So a beam is like you get the reflection back from the mirror. So this is the instrument, and the passive remote sensing is the instrument which collects the data usually about the Earth, mostly about the Earth. Also from seas. Nowadays we do have passive microwave data and all. So this instrument collect the data from the Earth's surface, from the objects. Let us say from the objects when the sun is the source of the power. The instrument itself doesn't transmit, but it only collects the data. Such kind of systems are called the passive remote sensing system. Next. So each of them are useful in certain ways. In whichever manner they collect the data, that data can be actually used to infer something about the water. So the electromagnetic spectrum goes like that. Like what we try to say is this, actually it is not really important, but still, these instruments, passive or active instruments, they work in certain frequencies. They work in, suppose if we say visible light, then it is like a camera, visible camera, which means red, blue, green, colors are picked up. If it is infrared radiation, then it picks up the discontinuities, infrared energy that is reflected back from the object. Meaning an object is always reflecting back at all the frequencies. It emits visible light, any object, It emits visible light, it emits infrared, it emits microwave, and it emits also radio waves at all the time. So whenever when we operate a camera, what happens is the camera is capable of collecting the data in the visible spectrum alone. That is why the camera, whatever picture that we get out of a camera, is the combination of these three colors. If we design this camera to work in the microwave region, a sensor is put inside the camera which will collect the microwave frequency. Then it will be giving another different kind of picture. So the aura picture and other things, what we are saying, the night picture, the cameras are designed so that they collect the data in the infrared region. So something like this. So we can actually design our sensor in whichever region it can be active and whichever region is most useful for us. Next. So that is how we are able to differentiate between the sensors, optical sensors, microwave sensors, thermal sensors. These are nothing but an optical sensor is working in optical spectrum, a microwave sensor is working in microwave spectrum, and thermal sensor is working in the thermal spectrum. So thermal spectrum, the camera with the in the thermal spectrum will collect the temperature, something like that. Okay, so next. So basically, using all these instruments, what we try to do is, we say all of them are Earth observation satellites. But actually, we do have satellites which observe the atmosphere, like I said, which observes the sea and all that. Now we can get information for the sea also, for the atmosphere also. And there are satellites which are working in the frequencies where it is not Earth or it is not about the picturing of Earth or sea, but it is to carry the information. The weather satellites, the information satellites that are used for communication, they're not picture, they do not take picture, but they carry the information. And basically from the Earth observation satellites, what we say, we collect the pictures and then we use these pictures, interpret these pictures to collect some data, to infer some data. Okay. So next. So basically, because it is a picture, it is a two-dimensional picture, and then we try to collect information. We try to infer some information that from that picture. We normally connect it with the maps. So it is possible to generate the maps instead of one data about a particular point, like a rainfall in the rainy station. Unlike this, we can get a synoptic coverage of a bigger area, which means rainfall at all positions at a particular time of Chennai district. This kind of a picture, a synaptic view can be generated, and this helps a lot in understanding the distribution of that particular information. If suppose it is about the tank information system, then actually the connectivity between the tanks, the position of the tanks, normally how the tanks are so positioned that they actually follow the slope. So from the direction of from the shape of the tank, one can actually identify how the terrain is actually following, which kind of a slope the terrain is following, and what can be made, how the water can be actually collected, because water flows from upper, a higher point to the lower point. This is a simple logic. So, but suppose if I have got a map of this tank information system, then tanks, the connected tanks, some 100 tanks, then I will be able to say in which actually the slope is, because these tanks are constructed very wisely, following the natural slope, so that not disturbing the terrain conditions very, very seriously, like how we do the roads in the cities. It is not like that. We normally, there is always an argument whenever there is a stormwater, drainage systems or flood control structures and all that. People, the remote sensing people, they would like to take first the DEM, the digital elevation model, and then for each and every point they want to calculate slope and all that. But the planners would actually try to understand this as a valley points, where and all there is a inundation, that is the lowest point. From that lowest point, you try to channelize the water to the more lower point, or to a point where you want to divert it. This will be a simple, solution. Like an analogy, the analogy could be the old type of houses. If you have houses in villages, normally what will happen, in a hall, there used to be one hole that leads the water to outside, Jaladwaram, which is wherever you pour the water, this is going to follow that slope and then get out of the house through that hole. But in the houses, the modern houses where we have the mosaic flooring and other things, granites and all, We do not have the slope there. That is why we mop. We do not, we cannot wash the house because the slope is not really great. We do not have one location where water from the entire hall or the room is going through. That valley point is that the entire floor is made to a flat surface. That is why cleaning becomes, we instead of washing with water, we go for mopping. This is something like, this is the modern method with the ancient wisdom. I would say, I would always argue or explain the class like that. So just because we do have technology, we don't have to lose the wisdom. Then next, please. Then we do have these kind of optical thermal microwave picture. Like I said, for a different kind of applications, we can use different kind of sensors. Optical, for example, land use, land cover, dynamics, because land use, land cover is going to have a greater say on the water, because the area of the agriculture, the crop area is going to have consume more water, and therefore the evapotranspiration would be more from there, and therefore the available water after the season, before the season, during the season can actually be compared with the actual demand of the water for this crop area. That is one thing. And the crop area losing to urban area. So the crop area losing to urban area means the surface, the soil is getting into a built-up surface where the percolation doesn't happen. So this is going to have certain implication on the groundwater retention capacity or groundwater filling. So this kind of water related analysis can be done from the allied themes like land use, land cover, the geology of it, the soil, etc. And the thermal band normally gives the land surface temperature. The land surface temperature, the measurement of land surface temperature goes a long way in estimating the evapotranspiration. And evapotranspiration is one very critical parameter in the entire water budgeting. So this an important information, and the evapotranspiration on ground can only be measured with the instruments, some instruments as a point data. Whereas if it is possible to get the evapotranspiration for synoptically over an area, then estimation of the water that is consumed by the plant for its own growth. So they can be calculated and they can be fit into the water budgeting, and further water management solutions can be taken based on that. The microwave helps in water indicators. Like this only, the indicators of the water can be soil moisture. Soil moisture from microwave is one important, one significant study, because soil moisture is not very easily, inferred from the optical data. But from microwave data, soil moisture can be estimated with a greater confidence level. And this soil moisture goes a long way in predicting the droughts or the available water for the crop growth during the crop season. So this kind of important, timely decisions can be taken when we use the remote sensing data. Next. So this is a water cycle. Like I said, water at every position, water at every time and in every space has got a relation to the water in the next season. Like I said, the evaporation that happens in the season has got a greater, bearing in the water that you receive through the rain in the next season. So we try to understand, or we try to infer this quality or quantity estimate of the water in its entire regime, in its presence as snow, in its presence as water in the atmosphere, in its presence as water on the ground, and in its presence as water in the subsurface, and in its presence in the atmosphere in any other form, like in the ice of cloud, or the cloud brightness temperature. The two clouds, the brightness temperature of two different clouds. So when they meet, when the rain is going to fall. So like this, every stage of the presence of water in its cycle has a possibility of getting inferred from the remote sensing data. So that is why remote sensing becomes interesting for the water management. Next. So these are some of the important and very useful satellite sensors that are in the orbit. And then you can see it later. Then next, please. So these are some of the essential climate variables which are decided by the UN framework for climate change convention, that these are the parameters that are possible to be derived from the remote sensing data, which means in atmosphere, land and ocean. In atmosphere, the precipitation, pressure, radiance, budget, temperature of the clouds, cloud properties, upper air atmospheric parameters, atmospheric composition of the physical particles, chemical particles, all of them which have got certain interaction when they are interacting with the water in the atmosphere has got an effect on the rain and other things, right? So likewise the land parameters and ocean parameters, these are the essential climate variables which are possible to be derived from the remote sensing data, which means the research opportunities are abandoned in these areas using the remote sensing data. Next. So now first starting from rainfall nowcasting. Nowcasting is as the storm passes, the rainfall intensity estimation and the preparedness and its mitigation and its management. So that is possible with the data, weather forecasting, river hydrology, flood control, agriculture, drought assessment, productivity, primary productivity, planning for these events, planning for crop management or cropping season or crop calendars. All these are possible with the, and those parameters that can go as the climate variables. These are possible with the remote sensing data. So this has been proved. That's a abundant literature which have the models, algorithms, methodologies to do this with the accuracy level which could be changing between the variables. Next. So rainfall estimation, remote sensing, from the IR we are getting the temperature and two temperature windows. That means in two different frequencies. One was having the surface water mapping and monitoring is also one interesting study because that tells about how well the management of the water can be done. So next, so we do have lots of remote sensing tools like in a lot of indices that are that is ratios of different bands and a lot of methodologies available to actually pick up the water stagnated, that is standing water, and also the moisture surfaces, which are the tangle areas, which leads water to this tank. That area can also be delineated. Next. So most of that surface water study reveals, like Professor Rajan said, a lot of water areas are encroached in the recent periods, not very. It is not a century-old process of encroachment. The encroachment has happened after, rightly pointed out, after the centralized water management system. That is during the colonial period. Before that, it was Kudimaramate. Decentralized and participatory water and land management was done at the village level or at the community level. But they were all centralized. And the PWDs were created during the colonial time, and it is still continuing. But in the later years, maybe recent past, after understanding the decentralized management of resources, there are certain initiatives are taken to keep the land and water, because the land and water is very important for the local people who are using it. So if the power to maintain them is given down, then it would be better, like the previously followed Kudimara method. So now these are some of the some images that I'm showing, and this gives you the picture of how this river flows. That means this is full of water, and this river, this is a dam, and this is a quality picture. This is the NDVA. We have something called the water index. Water index tells which are the pixels that are carrying water or which are moist. So if I connect these moist pixels, then I'll be able to get the extent of the standing water. If it is different from the previous years or 10 years before, then I can make certain decision about how to use the water more appropriately in the future. Next. So these are some of the other products, which are the global chlorophyll. Even within the dam, we can do this chlorophyll content and the TDS, and the quality of the water can also be estimated using the remote sensing. This is the global chlorophyll content of the seas, which can be directly connected to the fishery potential. So if I know the global chlorophyll content and also the temperature, which tells something about the current, these two can be combined to locate the active fishing or active the areas where you can expect fish blooms and all, where you can go for fishing and then get the haul. So this kind of data are very useful for the advisories to the fishermen, advisories for the navigation. All this use of these products are numerous. Next. This ocean color monitoring. We also have the ocean color monitoring sensor, which pick up the color in terms of which can be connected to the chlorophyll content, which can be connected to the suspended sediments, or sorry, suspended material, and water leaving gradients, which tells about the quality of the water. So all this can be indirectly. Most of the remote sensing indicators that we get are something indirect indicators of the actual physical and chemical characters of the water. So when these are connected through the empirical models or distributive models or maybe a physical model, so this is equal to that. So how much it is related to that? This kind of models are established numerically, and then these are used for making decisions. Next. So one other thing is crop mapping. After you get the rainfall, you get the water availability on the ground, then we go for cropping, which is the extent of the crop, the type of the crop, the growth potential or growth level of the crop, and then the yield of the crop. All these are some of the important data product that we get from the remote sensing data, both optical and microwave remote sensing data. Next. So these are some of the crop maps wherein the types of crop have been delineated, and from the type and crop growth stages, the water demand can be calculated, and this water demand can be actually compared against the water available in the lakes, in the the canals, and also in the subsurface. So these can be compared, and then the management plans can be drawn based on that. So the irrigation in an irrigated area, how much water is available, what are the crops grown, how much water they require, and therefore how they can be managed, and how they can be distributed. These plans can be done. So that is the irrigation performance and irrigation water management is one important and one successful application of the remote sensing. Even in India, we do have this irrigation command area monitoring program, in which we get the crop map, we calculate the water demand, and then compare it with the water availability at the same time, and the season-wise availability and the demand equations or balance equations are made, and then the management is suggested. Next. So this is not important. Next. Okay, so then we go a long way in irrigation control also. Not only the remote sensing data, the geospatial or the GIS we are saying, right? That combined with the IoT. IoT is Internet of Things, which is I have the instruments here. They measure some maybe crop reflectance or chlorophyll, or which can be related to the crop growth stage, and all of this data comes to my server, and from there I can make decisions to which land I will irrigate today, to which land I will irrigate, or I'll put fertilizer tomorrow. This kind of precision or precision irrigation control mechanisms can be developed. So the spatial nature of the remote sensing data goes very well with this kind of applications. Then next. So precision agriculture is what I was telling. So you try to decide a field-wise management plan based upon the information that is coming to us. So this can be done from the remote sensing, and also which is complemented by the instruments that are fit in the field as a field equipment, and whose data gets collected at the server or the common server, from where one tries to understand what is the nutrient quality of the soil or the moisture of the soil, how dry it is for this crop, how much more water is to be irrigated, which will again make an automatic irrigation, like our sprinkler irrigation system. So time we can set the time. Likewise, based upon the soil moisture or soil nutrient or whatever, based upon that, the water can be splashed or the nutrient can be splashed. So this IoT helps in a very big way in the precision farming. So precision farming is one of the very hot topics in the countries where, like in Israel and all, they do a lot of, even in China, they do a lot of precision farming to get the maximum yield out of the crops. Next. So this is again the same example. Next. So some of the crop seasonal data. So this is optical data. Typically in Tamil Nadu, at least, what do we experience? A lot of cloud cover all the time during the crop season, and therefore we can go for the microwave data, which is see through the cloud, which means the clouds are not appearing in the microwave data. You get the information about the ground directly. It crosses through. It looks through the cloud, and therefore all this kind of crop management, a temporal the information about the crop can be collected using the microwave data, and then this can be used for crop management. Next. So this is one microwave data is one great very potential substitute for the clouded optical data. Then we get the blue carbon ecosystems, where in the wetlands we get the information about the water and the land properties, and the management of wetlands is also made possible using the data. Especially we try to get the carbon footprint of each of these land use classes, land covers like agriculture, wetland, forest and all that. And we try to see how to optimize. This is at a very regional or a very global scale. For entire India, what would be the carbon footprint and how to optimize. Where and all you have to grow the forest, where and all you have to grow conserve the wetlands, where and all you have to keep the water bodies intact. All this planning all being done using the remote sensing viable data. Next. Satellite observation, potential fishing zone mapping, like I said, it uses the bathymetry, visible structure, and sea surface temperature, sea surface height, and also the salinity. Salinity also helps the current from the dense saline water to the light saline water flows basically. And this current helps in the movement of the fish and then identification of the fishing zones. That is one important and very successful application of remote sensing. As well as not only that, it also the sea surface height, phytoplankton concentration in the seawater helps us to identify or connect to the water budgeting parameters. Next. Sea surface temperature is one application. Next. Soil moisture, like I said, is one very critical parameter in the water budgeting, and at the same time a very difficult parameter to be measured from the ground, because the soil moisture keeps changing across the day, number one, and it keeps changing across the space. The soil moisture condition of one village is not same as at the same time for the same kind of solar irradiation in the other villages. So it becomes really a critical parameter. It has to be estimated across the time and across the space. But across the space means at the same time installing so many devices and then taking the data and then aggregating them becomes really difficult. So in that situation, the remote sensing comes very handy. So microwave and thermal data gives a very good estimate, or a better estimate than that of the optical data. Use of microwave and thermal data for getting the LST, which is the land surface temperature, and also the soil moisture. From microwave data, the electrical properties of the soil, which can indirectly be, or the conductivity of the soil, which can indirectly be connected to the soil moisture, and the thermal data gives the LST, and these two combinedly give the evapotranspiration, the potential evapotranspiration that can happen about that land cover. So this goes a very big way in the water budgeting. Next. These are some of the sensors which are capable of estimating the soil moisture. So this is for the students of having research interest in the soil moisture estimation. Next. So this is also a very theoretical part. We will not. Okay, next, please. You can go to next. So based upon these LST and NDVI parameters, this is on global moisture, soil moisture map that is being given every day by the European Space Agency. Next, Environmental Agency, taking data from the European Space Agency. Next. Then evapotranspiration, like I said, from LST, and then vegetation indices. Vegetation indices, nothing but it tells something about the growth That is biomass of the crop. The biomass and the LST combinedly give a picture about the evapotranspiration, the amount of energy that is released the water that is consumed by the crop and then let out. The energy that is let out after the consumption or after making the chlorophyll. So this is one important part, and this cannot be directly measurable even using the field, apparatus in the traditional way. So this evapotranspiration map gives a very good insight into the dynamics, energy dynamics across the not only the crop area but also across the forested area. So the potential water loss from these land covers can be estimated, and this is one important variable in the climate change study. So the entire water cycle and then the rainfall vagaries, all that for all, estimating all that, this evapotranspiration helps very much. Then next. Okay, for this microwave optical thermal data are used at various stages, and this data is, this information are aggregated to get information about the evapotranspiration. Next. Okay, drought assessment, like I said, from the soil moisture and then the LST, we can actually get the onset, the drought that is onset already happened, and also the onset of the drought in the future also can be estimated. And then the things can be prepared. This drought assessment across the country using the remote sensing data is one very successful endeavor by ISRO, and each collectorate is given, district collectors are given bi-weekly bulletin of the current drought and then the potential future drought. That is dependable to a greater extent. They are giving the bulletin, and this is also by some people, by some collectors, this is referred to maintain or manage the crops during the season. Next. So this is the satellite derived images of the LST and NDVI things, where there is a vagary of, there is a rainfall induced drought, where and all rainfall was less, where and all NDVI, the crop growth was also less, and where and all the LST was high. So if these three things combined together, the droughted areas can be picked up. So likewise, it was done for the entire India, and then this model was proved also. Next. And not only the water and the land, the remote sensing is very useful for the snow studies. Next. Okay, these are some of the instruments that are available in space to understand or to make an estimation of various snow properties that are of importance. Next. Okay, some examples of data products that we can derive from the remote sensing that are applicable for various fields are like this: extreme weather conditions, floods, hazards, of course not tsunamis, because tsunamis are very rare events. Tsunami study is still going on. Volcanoes, earthquakes, we cannot really do anything about with the remote sensing data. Probably the damage assessment can be done. Landslides and subsidence, to some extent it can be expected, but the damage assessment can very well be done. Droughts and dust storms, wildfires, these can be easily monitored and mapped. And the long-term management or climate change, pollution, watering, plant health, land usage, population density, deforestation, population density in a indirect way based upon the urban sprawl and other intricate parameters. Desertification, all this can be actually understood, estimated and understood by the remote sensing data. So these are some of the base, fields in which remote sensing data can be useful compared to the field-related study, which can consume a lot of time. Next. Some interesting data products are these, which are of help for the rainfall and the snow assessment. Whatever is important for the water cycle or water budgeting, these are some of the important data products that are given as open data product by the various agencies, European, American, even German agencies, some Japanese satellite data products. They are all pooled in one pool, and then they are given to the users as the open data. Next. These are some of the data products again, which are about the atmosphere, which could be very helpful in the rainfall estimation. Next. So Madras is one very important, very popular sensor, which gives you all this information. With this list of information, these data products are all free. So people who want to do anything about this application can actually download the data and then try it for themselves. Okay. Try to see if it is accurate for their own area, or what modification they'll do for the data product to suit their local purposes. Next. So extreme weather, floods, these are some of the water related problems. Next. Droughts, pollution, the quality of water, quantity of water, both of them are very important. So these are some of the challenging fields in which remote sensing can be applied to various degrees of success. Next. This is the India Water Resource Information System, which I want to introduce to the students, wherein I probably would be already be aware of it. So they give you a lot of information about the water of India. So this is called VARIS, India VARIS. So next, they give you surface water. Okay, so these are various things that are available to you. Surface water, groundwater, land, physical characteristics, and then projects, which are different projects, and then there is something called, okay, next we will go. I'm not able to read. So this is the water. About the water, you have the water storage, which is standing water, river status, snow, glacial lake. The snow melt is very important study in the northern reservoirs because they get water because of the snow melt. So the snow extent, snow depth, snow status, age, and all these things are used for getting our snow melt. This snow melt, based upon the water that is coming out of the snow melt to the Bagran angle, for example, reservoir. This advisory is given to the Bagran authority to decide on whether to open the gate or how much the gate should be open to release the water. So these decisions on every week basis they are giving. Even today, snow melt, the Bagran angle advisory is being given by the ISRO. And for groundwater, you get what? Groundwater exploration, all those well data, groundwater level data, all data that is collected by CPWD, I think is being shared through this VARIS, and land resources about all the tree cover, land degradation, soil types, all these maps are available. So these are a lot of information that are available in the India VARIS, which can be used directly by, I think, subscribing to their or registering with them. You can download the data and use it for your own research or whatever. Next. So these are also some more of the India VARIS which are available to the users for free. Next. So these will, after much of gloating about the remote sensing data and its applicability, its potential, and all that, some of the limitations that we can see as, or it is a short span. Last 70, 80 years only we get the remote sensing data. Before that, we have to depend on whatever the point data that is available to us. That is one great limitation because it's totally a new technology. And the data is being collected by different sensors working at different frequencies. The same land use is being collected by a Japanese, a satellite in a different band or a different frequency, slightly different frequency than that of Indian and all. So these things have to be normalized. And calibration of the sensors with respect to its resolution, with respect to its information content that is coming out of the resolution needs calibration especially when we use the remote sensing data of different platforms. And temporal frequency may be suitable. Some of them are having 16 days, some of them are having 3 months, etc. So we may have to choose the data or choose the sensor which is suitable for our temporal frequency. Sometimes that may be a big disappointment. And the spatial resolution keeps varying. That is, the type of data that is given by different sensor differ slightly in their resolution. That means in their clarity or in their actual information content. So these have to be understood well before using them. So that means one has to really know the technology or know the physics behind it to use the data properly. Then next. So most of these remote sensing data, we use the numerical motors. We get one value, we say NDVA. NDVA is connected to crop growth or the chlorophyll content this way. Y is equal to mx plus c. This M and C are the ones which we calculate. X is the remote sensing data, let us say the NDVA, and Y is the chlorophyll, let us say. So this M and C keeps differing depending upon the experimental setup. So one needs to know the algorithms or the models that we are using and their limitation and their sphere of usage needs to be understood, and then only that sometimes that will, without believing it too much and then using it for a certain application may backfire. So that needs to be understood very well. Next. So thank you. This is what I have to say for remote sensing. The use of one of the scientific advancement is remote sensing. It is not all. It needs to be complemented with other instrumentation also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Elaborative presentation, madam. Thank you.
I think I took a little more time. I think
Thank you so much, Vidya ma'am. That was very informative. I'm sure everyone here has learned a lot from this presentation. We have indeed come a long way in terms of scientific advancements. Sorry for this. We have come a long way in terms of the scientific advancements, and we still have a lot to do. These limitations will be overcome in the coming years. So thank you so much, Vidya ma'am. That was a wonderful presentation. Our next speaker for today is Dr. Arthur James. Dr. James is the professor and head of the Department of the Marine Science at Bharathidasan University, Tiruchirappalli. He, after completing BSc and MSc in Geology from Madurai Kamaraj University, pursued PhD from Institute of Ocean Management at Anna University. He has a research experience of over 30 years, mainly focusing on coastal ecology and pollution, antibiotic resistance and EIA, marine biogeochemistry, natural minerals and treatment. He has published in more than 60 international and national journals. Sir has also published books which includes Coastal Zone Management, Global Perspective, Regional Processes, Local Issues, and Recent Trends in Water Research, Hydrogeochemical, Hydrological Perspectives. Dr. James has been the associate editor in the Frontiers in Marine Science Journal of Switzerland, and he has also been the academic editor in the peer-reviewed PLOS1 Journal of USA. He is a recipient of a number of awards, including Dongsha Research Award from Taiwan. It gives me immense pleasure to call upon Dr. Arthur James for imparting to us his knowledge in the Indian surface water scenario and influence on for the future studies. Over to you, sir.
James, please unmute.
Yes. Very good afternoon, one and all. Professor Bhaskaran and all other faculty from University of Madras and the earlier speakers, my dear beloved students, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon now. So my topic is on Indian surface water scenario inference and future studies. Is it visible, my PPT?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Now is it changing?
Yes, sir, it's changing.
Okay.
You maximize the screen.
Maximum screen means it is not coming these days. That's why I. Okay.
Okay.
I'll just maximize. Now I am changing. Whether is it changing?
Not a problem, Dr. James. Proceed.
Okay. Whether is it changing?
Screen is visible.
Huh?
Screen is visible.
No, I am changing now. Continental drift. Whether it is coming?
No.
No. Yeah, maximize in Google Meet. That is the problem.
Fine. Okay, no problem.
Okay. So earlier, the two speakers have already very well defined about the waters and the various traditional way how they have harvested and various methodology of how our ancestors have followed. That was the first speaker's speech, and followed by Vidya ma'am has demonstrated a good developed advanced technology how we can manage the water issues with remote sensing and various technical advancements. So now I am just going to share some of the basic information about the surface water and their importance and the present scenario and the future how what we are going to use and how we can manage all this aspect I'm just going to cover a short form of way. So water, everybody knows about the water, what we are drinking. And this, if you see the origin or the genesis, when the earth was formed, at the time itself, the water is part of our earth system during for the past 450 crore years, otherwise 4,500 million years old. This system is coming along the way with what our earth is undergone from the solar system. As a geographer, we have to know all this background information. And for the life, water is very, very important, not only for the human being, but also all living organisms in the earth. So that is the thing, water is so important. And as I told you, 450 crore years back, our earth is evolved and life started 3.8. That means 380 crore years onwards, life is started. And from that time onwards till now, our system is running without any problem, though we are facing several crises in the summer for the drinking water purpose, but on a whole earth, there is no problem so far. So that is what now I have I'm just going to share you. So as I told you, this water, the background information, it was evolved from various sectors from continental drift to the present day environment. And as a geography student, as a whole of the entire earth, you have to now surface water means not only for the rivers or the oceans, you have to think globally in the background information. As on an earth scale, the entire earth is covered with the hydrosphere, so that is more than 71 percentage on the earth. This water scenario is spreaded on the global scale, so that is why it is called water planet. And from there our hydrological cycle started. All we know how the hydrological system and how water is evolved and how it is precipitated and transported and storage, and how now we are using in the water for various purpose. So that is the small introduction. And some more the things we have to also know, the introduction point, the environmental setup, what water is undergoing. Water is always classified as hydrosphere, but the interactions between atmosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, or lithosphere, or the ionospheres are always important, because here one sphere is affected means all the five spheres will be interlinked and they are also affected in a direct or indirect way. So that is the message I would like to just tell you from the beginning. And now that today's topic is surface water. Though 97 percentage is covered with the ocean, that is hydrosphere, but surface water means normally we classify in the form of rivers, lakes, frozen ice, glaciers, etc. So they are just predominant around 1% from the as a good form of water. And you can see here, even though it is directly whatever 97% is available in the form of ocean, or otherwise it is called salt water, but the direct you can consuming the direct fresh water is less than 1%. So that is the nature's gift, we can say. We should not tell it is very less amount, because even though it is available less than 1%, and it is meeting out our requirement on global scale. For example, in our Indian populations, 130 crore population is there as per the latest census. census point. So the population is 130 crore. 130 crore people are now consuming water without any problem. Even if you calculate these numbers, okay, so that is going to be a huge number. I will tell you the calculations with the in the later stage. And in India, surface water, as we can see, 130 crore populations, and whatever area India we are occupied in the land, that is the total on global scale. It is 2% of the world total populations, world total land availability, and the population whatever we are now sharing as 130 crore is equivalent to 16% of the world populations. And we have the land frontage of around 15,000 square kilometers, and the coastline is around 7,500 kilometers and 28 states. So these are the basic informations which we can calculate how our surface water is playing a major role for Indian scenario. So that is the basic information I would like to share here. The Indian context is around, it is meeting out world population of 16 percentage. Okay, 16 percentage is now in India. We are how we are managing the water from the Indus Ganges civilization, from that time onwards till today, how we are going to, how we are managed, how we are managing, and how we are going to manage in the future sector. So that is the concept of my topic today. For example, surface water means generally we know only the river water. In India, you can see here we have plenty of rivers, major rivers, starting from Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, peninsular rivers like east flowing and west flowing rivers. So these are all the major rivers, apart from small scale rivers, streams, nallas, odas, etc. That is different. But the major rivers are classified and the Himalayan rivers, peninsular rivers, west flowing rivers, etc. But as I told you, environmentally, India is the unique state, unique area where the biodiversity, ecological balance, everything is unique. It is, though we have diversified with various cultures, ecological setup, but the maintenance of the environmental stability is always very unique in Indian continent. So that is what I would like to share here. And just to see here, different shades of the color, that is a various ecological setup which was prevailed in the Indian rivers where they are flowing. And if you see the rivers flow, the main feeder is the rainfall. Rainfall also, we sometimes we may face in excess, but on an average it is a good enormous amount of rainfall in a year. Every year we are getting, and that is the main reason the east flowing as well as west flowing rivers are flowing perennially, and we are managing the water in the surface water without any problem. For example, in the Indian sector, average is around 1000, we can say 1000 millimeter. That is very good amount of rainfall. As a geography student, you have to calculate, as I told you from the beginning, the surface area of the Indian area, that is 2% of the world area. And if you that calculate, for example, 1000 millimeter with the surface area, that much huge quantity of water we are every year annually we are receiving. Okay, that is a basic concept. So that much huge quantity of water we are receiving, and how it is maintained or how it is environmentally distributed equally with various sectors, and how as a civilized human beings how we can manage. We are not only from the ancient time, from Karigala Cholan to now, But now though we have developed various technological advancement, and still some of the sectors we are lacking for the management issues. So that is the present day scenario we have to understand, and now we have to just adopt whatever the possible techniques or the methods how our ancestors followed, and with the latest advancement of technological advancement, we can adopt the techniques and we can enhance the management. So that is the small message I would like to share here. Okay, first we can say the types of rivers. As I told you that there are Himalayan rivers, peninsular rivers. In the Himalayan rivers, we can classify it again the big rivers like Ganga, Brahmaputra, and the Indus. So both the Ganga and Brahmaputra, this is east flowing, and the Indus is through from the Himalaya. It is flowing to the Pakistan. And why we have to consider all? Why? Because as I told you, that India is already covered with various ecological setup. Each sector is having uniqueness. For example, Indus rivers, it is started from the pristine Himalaya. You can see this photograph. It started from the pristine Himalaya and flows through the west, and it is giving more quantity of water in the form of surface water. Okay, there are big major dams are there, lot of agriculture sectors are there. That is the benefit. And if you see Ganges, that is the holy river Ganga. The holy Ganga is also started from the Himalaya, where there is, you can see here the upstreams. That is a beautiful, you can say Badrinath, Kedarnath, even above that, that is a beautiful Gangotri glaciers. This Ganga is originated, and it is coming through the Haridwar, Rishikesh, and then again after up to Himachal Pradesh and Haryana, it was flowing as a good river. And once if it is entered to the Delhi sector, and we can the color of the TDS, everything gets changed. So that is the Ganga's present status. Then that is the biggest tributary, that is the Yamuna river. Here you can see the holy Ganga. See, I am not blaming, because this is our cultural heritage, what our Indians are following from the ancient time to till now. And there is no doubt we have to maintain the cultural heritage. At the same time, we have to also maintain the water in a good way. Because நீரின்றி அமையாது உலகு. And again, you can see the Brahmaputra, that also it started from the upper reaches of the Himalaya, that is the Chinese area, and it ends with the biggest Sundarban and the Ganges area in the Bangladesh as part of the Indian sector. And that is also equally important. It is ecological region it covers, and it is playing both the Ganga and Brahmaputra. Since it is from the Himalaya means it is tectonically very active. Tectonically very active means earthquakes and loose soils and the temperature. Both summer and the winter, they have experienced a very extreme high temperature. In the summer, it is the temperature comes around nearly 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, and in the winter it is going -5 to -25. So that means this extreme weather conditions, the erosion, the weathering processes are also very high. So that is the reason on the world scale, comparing to Amazon and the Congo River, though they are bigger than our Ganges River, and their suspended sediment, the suspended sediment load is lesser than Ganges and Brahmaputra, and on an account, the Ganges and Brahmaputra jointly together contributing more than 23% of the world sediment load to the hydrosphere, that is the open ocean. So more than 23% means it is one fourth of the total sediment load, suspended sediment load is transported from Ganges and Brahmaputra. So that is the one aspect we have to keep it in mind, because this suspended sediment load, just we can say it is a just mud, but and the ecological point of view and various other environmental sustainability, this is playing very key role for the global scale. So that is the reason we have fortunate to have Ganges and Brahmaputra, and now again peninsular rivers starting from Maganadi. The Maganadi is in the Orissa, and Godavari. Godavari is the biggest river. Geographically, Godavari, though the originated point is near the western side, that is the Shirdi area in the Maharashtra, but geographically it is flowing towards the east, and it travels through a huge area and transport a large amount of quantity of waters in the Andhra Pradesh is mainly fertiles because of this Godavari. Because in the Yanam side, if you just see these photographs, it is very difficult to cross the river because that much width is very high and the quantity of water is very huge. And our own Kaveri, it starts from Karnataka and Ukenakal, it's reaching here, and it is also one of the perennial river. And here the geomorphological and the geographical features is uniqueness because it is from pristine to various decans and various crystalline terrain. It is flowing, and it is also uniqueness in the southern states of India. Okay, so there is a Kaveri river and west flowing river Narmada and Dapti. Narmada and the Dapti, though they have traveled that distance is very less because when it is originated, it is shortly it is reaching to the Arabian Sea. So that is the reason the amount of suspended sediments load is very less comparing to the east flowing rivers, even though the discharge amount is very more Narmada and Dapti because it is a short travels and directly hitting to the Arabian Sea, and the suspended sediment load is very less, but their their nutrient the nutrients loads which transport to the Arabian Sea is very unique. So that is the reason comparing to Bay of Bengal or the Gulf Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, the upwelling, ocean upwelling is the uniqueness because of this contribution from Narmada and Tapti rivers. So why I am telling this all? Because all are part of the hydrosphere and ecologically very sensitive, and not only water. Now we should not think always the water as a drinking purpose, but as our ancestors already demonstrated, all five spheres, ஐம்பூதங்கள், நிலம், நீர், காற்று, ஆகாயம், நெருப்பு, all these five spheres are interlinked, their activities are interlinked, and their stability are very important for the entire ecological and environmental setup. So that is the key point. As a students, as a researchers, first you have to understand, then automatically you have to come to the normal point of view, that is the drinking water. Okay, that water means we will know only the drinking purpose H2O. That is not the matter. For the environmental and the ecological setup, the water is very essential in the form of hydrosphere. So that is the thing I am just sharing here. And here you can we can see now various rivers sector wise, Himalayan, peninsular, east flowing and west flowing rivers, and the actual usage per capita usage of these rivers is given here in the pie chart. Again, here the major contributor is Ganga because it contributes around 250 billion cubic meter PCM, that much huge quantity of water. And Krishna, Godavari, Gaveri, they are also contributed equally. And the west flowing is very comparing to the east flowing, and naturally it is less. But why we have to consider all this factor is now we are now coming to the importance of the present scenario water sector, both surface and groundwater as well as ocean water, any hydrosphere, the present scenario, why it is important. Because as I told you, Indian population is 130 crore nearly. So that means major cities, okay, major populations, major cities are here. Why? Simple calculation, if you logically do, if you are having a small calculator in your hand, before just crying water scarcity, per capita availability is very less, like that. But simple arithmetic, if you see here, simple arithmetic, whatever the surface area which is available in the India, the annual rainfall around 1000, if you can say, or 500 millimeter, you can say, very less number. But the annual overall area with annual rainfall, if you calculate, that much huge quantity of water we are getting in every year, but still we are crying because of mismanagement of the annual rainfall. So that is the things we have to just understand the present scenario, but still we are in safe hand, because so far, if you see here this demand ratio, the domestic water 42 BCM, billion cubic meter, to 2025 73, and it is getting almost double in 2025. Okay, and 2050 it may be very high again. 2050, but we have to manage in an adequate way. I will tell you the simple logic and the very simple and most advantage, very interesting method. Okay, don't worry. Some of the extreme environment also now these days we are facing. For example, 2015 extreme floods in the Chennai floods. Similarly, last year extreme one day 30 centimeter flood rainfall. Something like that, climate change, all other things we are fancy words we are talking. But one thing we have to understand as a geography student. I told you from the beginning, our earth system is very old system, 450 crore years old system. From that time to till now, environmentally, ecologically, it is maintaining its stability. How? There are a lot of ecological imbalances are also recorded in the ancient time to now, for the past history of maybe we can say 450 crore onwards, but nothing is imbalanced. Everything is balanced way. It was neutralized. So that is the system. It is very difficult to understand for you, but later stage you will understand. I will tell you the some of the example. For example, now you can see extreme environment. We are getting lot of water, large quantity of water as a flash flood, and it is just reaching to the ocean, adjacent ocean, within a day or two. Okay, that is one thing, and very small quantity only it is going to reach in the groundwater in the form of recharge. Okay, because why? Because that is the nature's gift. We can say we can conserve or we can harvest this water, but nature is giving a slow process. The slow process in the form of recharge towards the groundwater. Why? Because in Tamil, one proverb we can say, ஆட்டுக்கு வாளை அளந்துதான் கொடுத்திருக்கான் அப்படின்ட்டு. So why similarly, the process which takes place in the various sectors, everything is using its own merits, its own stability, its own maintaining the ecological balance. Simple example, we can say the equal distribution of the water. For example, I told you from the beginning, 130 crore populations in India, we need to drink water 3 liters per day, correct? Each individual drinking water, doctors will say you drink 3 liters per day. Similarly, per day, if you consume, if you calculate the water, how much you are using it for bathing and the kitchen and other domestic purpose, and on lavish scale, according to the data, 120 liters per day per person is required. But as a average, as very small point, 50 liters, if you say 50 liters, because 100 liters is normally our metro water is distributing to the people, but for a calculation purpose, we can say 50 liters per day per person is requirement, okay, for all domestic purpose. 50 liters into 130 crore, just simply calculate with your mobile phone. So 130 crore populations needed a small number of 50 liters per day. How much it will come? 6,500 liters, crore liters, not ordinary liters. 6,500 crore mean 650 million. 650 million liters of water is required for the domestic purpose. One tanker lorry is 10,000. So that means 6,500 lakhs of water is needed for India. Can you imagine? 6 lakh 500 lorry per day. That much huge quantity of water is required for the domestic purpose for Indian populations of 130 crore. But now you can see this all sectors are available less than 1%. That's why I told you from the beginning. Less than 1% of the available fresh water is still today meeting our requirement without any problem. Nobody suffered. Correct? Daily this much quantity, then monthly, then yearly, you can see, you can calculate how much quantity of water, surface water, fresh water is required for Indian scenario, which is meeting out from the available of less than, maybe we can say apart from 97% ocean, this 3%. So from this 3%, the fresh water is less than 1%. So available on the global scale as well as Indian scale, less than 3% of the available water, the surface water, is meeting out 130 crore. You can imagine per day 6 lakhs 5,000 lorry tanker they are supplying equivalent that much quantity of water. So that is the things, the scenario, the present scenario which we are required now. Okay, why it is so important? Because our body starting, because every individual, each organism required water, it varies. And for example, in our own body, why we are drinking water? Because our body is made up of between 65 to 85% is made up of water with various phases. For example, our blood, here we can say fat, muscles, everything is required water, is form of water. Without water, there is no life. Okay, so that is why we have to need to think the individual organisms, individual human beings, water is the essential, and this is the uniqueness of the pH. That is also equally important. That is a neutral alkaline acidity that is also naturally maintained all ecological sectors in a, without any problem from the beginning of 450 crore years to till now this second. Okay, so that is the key factors. As educated students, you have to first understand, then realize the present scenario, then plan for your future goal. So that is the message I would just share my opinion or suggestions because we should not cry always pollution, pollution, pollution. Pollution is part of our lifestyle because it is inevitable. It is our culture. We should not we should not always criticize. Only thing is, if you manage logically, reasonably, using our brain with our ancestors' guidance, nothing is going to affect you. On this pie chart, you can see here, though pollutions we are now thinking it is very alarming. That is no doubt it is alarming, but on a positive way, if you think the logically, whatever the water sectors which is available, as I told you, shared you the video, the PPTs, the relatively clean percentage is around 66, more than 60%. That shows the good scenario of the present day, because nature is very big. Whatever human populations are increased, the demand is increased, but the nature, the time, the earth area is very high. The time process is very high. That is 450 crore years. Our average life of human being is maximum 100 years. Okay, the 100 years we are dancing, we are crying, we are shouting, we are telling a lot of problems, but our environment, that is earth environment, it underwent 450 crore. So just in 450 crore, how far this your 100 years is nothing. It is very, very negligible. So from the 450 crore to this 100 years, still whatever we have polluted, still the earth, the mother earth, the hydrosphere is unpolluted more than 65%. Okay, so that is the, I am not just boosting or magnifying, because these are the data which we have received from the available sources. Okay, and the basin wise, the stress management here, pollution wise, because we can see here on the Indian scale, starting from Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra to our own Kaveri, Krishna, Tamirabarani, Pennar, and minor rivers, etc. The BOD level is not, except Ganga and the major rivers. All other rivers are not much very highly polluted based on the information, because natural treatment is taking place. Natural treatment is whatever you are dumping in India, in the, for example, in Tamil Nadu, the textile city, the leather sectors, whatever you are dumping, knowingly or unknowingly, the rejuvenation capacity of the natural, that is the mother earth, is given, is very huge, very high. Because without that, based on the data, 66% is which is unpolluted. So that is what the Indian surface water scenario it is witnessing. So natural resources, the natural treatment is always important. Okay, and simple logically, how do we, sometimes when we cross the river, order will come or the color will be always black, then we may say it is polluted. Actually, it is not like that. Order will come because of the some reducing environment. The color is because due to the suspended sediments, the black or brownish color, but it is not going to define your quality. Here you can see simple measurement of the dissolved oxygen above 4.5 to 6 or 8. It shows that is the water is good. So this is some of the parameter we can follow. Okay, and here some of the color may be different, but the water quality may be good. But why water we are telling, surface water or groundwater or whatever water, from water only the disease is coming, spreading. So that is starting from ancient cholera to now the present pandemic. Everything is this, water is the important. Earlier the pandemic, COVID, they told droplets. What is droplet? That is nothing but a water. The droplets it is spreading. Okay. So water is important, and here there is the various diseases and the various disease causing microorganisms. Okay. E. coli, Vibrio cholerae, Salmonella, Pseudomonas, total coliform, total viable count, and this will give you lot of basic diseases, diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, etc. But don't worry. My point is don't worry. At the same time, you have to understand the logic, the science behind, then only you can be don't worry. If you are not understanding, then you have to worry. Okay. And one more thing, the environment, energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It will be from one form to another form, it will flow. Why it is going so? Because to maintain the stability it is doing. Okay, that is the nature's gift or nature's law. If you understand that, all the problems can be managed in a better way. So the various diseases now, pandemic, present pandemic, for the past 2 years, we lost several lives. Because why? Because there is no medications. There is no medication. Why? Why there is no medicine? Because that is new. Because that is new. New characters, new virus. The what is antibiotic? Because antibiotic is nothing but the opposite fellow. We are just giving you to fight the organisms and kill the organisms and defeat it. Similarly, our COVID, the corona, the new variants, why we are not able to fight is their behavior is different. Their behavior is different. It is like normal man and madman. Normally, madman you cannot control because their power is very high. Why madness is coming? Madness is coming because of the more stress for a long period of time or some extreme environmental psychological problem. This extreme environmental problem is not only for man, our surrounding microbial organism also. So that is the message you should understand. So this extreme environmental behavior is sometimes adopting in the gene level of the viruses or the bacteria. They started madness and they started creating a new diseases. They started attacking. Okay, that is the basic logic you have to understand. Once if you understand, then you can also control the extreme environment. So that is why we are not able to find out the control of the extreme environment. That is why medicine is not able to produce exactly 100%. Okay, that is the logic. That is one thing. So this is some of the things we can manage, antibiotic, the medicine, etc. Now, I just want to share because the timing is running short because it is very interesting topic. All the topics are very good. And now how to tackle the management issues, because management issues also always very, very important, because it is earlier we thought various chemical, mechanical treatment, we can manage the water diseases, etc. But now we are started talking about organic way. Organic way. Okay. Everywhere now, if you go to the market, organic grains, organic, everywhere organic. Why organic? Because there is no side effect and it is natural, no side effect. It is no diseases, and only thing is it will be little time consuming and it required more area. So that is the thing. There is a message. But now, because of the chemical and otherwise other synthetic methods, we face several side effects, several problem. The management also faces a lot of problem in all sectors. So that is the reason now we are going towards organic. Organic is nothing but for this water sector, organic way is natural treatment. Okay, natural treatment. Natural treatment also, if you approach natural treatment logically, this is doing wonderfully. This is doing wonderfully the latest nanotechnology. Wonderfully, the latest nanotechnology. What is nanotechnology? That is the latest technology with the advancement of science even all field, medical, chemical, physical, geological, biotechnological, all field nanotechnologies now in the top, but nature is bigger than nanotechnology, nature techniques. We have to understand the process, then you can do wonderful nanotechnology from the nature. So that is a message. Here you can see naturally how we can harvest or the manage the water scenarios like this. We can do wonderful management. Simple example, the one way, the country with the desert, with the Israel, there is no water, but their management strategy is very, very huge. Now the entire world is appreciating and they are managing the water issues without any problem. And they are revolutionaries and they are just green. They are making wonderful farmings with the help of advancement techniques. So there, that is nothing but a simple logic nature is teaching us. Okay. So this is what my point here I would like to stress here. And here also you can see here the ancestors, because the ancestors, our ancient ancestors are really a brainy people. They may not have educated, but the practical educations, they made it very excellent way. Okay. So that is what the earlier two speaker also already shared their view. And here also I am just sharing Indus civilization itself, it was the septic tank principle was there. It was excavated and it was reported. So 2000 years back, septic tank principle is there, but now we are still not able to manage the present day present day, what we can say. I don't want to tell the specific name, the management. So 2000 years back, they have managed the things. How? Because nothing but same thing what our septic tank we are using in our individual households. If you see septic tank, it may look something different, but culturally, if you see Kerala septic tank, if you see Maharashtra septic tank, if you see Northeast septic tank, that is different. Tamil Nadu septic tank. Okay, it is not now ancient time how they have developed, because it was developed depending upon their local conditions, environmental conditions, ecology, humidity, rainfall, temperature, etc. They have developed, they have successfully, they have maintained. So that is the message. And here also, now the cost benefit analysis is important for all sectors. Here also, natural filter media we can use, and I don't want to go with more detail. And this is the natural which our roots are doing in the environmentally very systematically, that we can design this management with our biggest apartment or the green building campus from the beginning like this. Then we can recycle, we can reuse the water without any problem and manage the things in a better way. For example, the domestic water can be used for the gardens, and again, once it is coming out from the garden, from the sunlight, natural sunlight, that is the UV treatment, you can see it is, you can say it is called polishing pond. This polishing pond can be managed like this, so that this water can be also reused for even drinking purpose after getting back from reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis. RO is nothing but these days everybody is using RO, but now there is a news is coming. Drinking RO water is not good for the health, because the mineral content is always it is reduced. Only H2O, pure H2O only we are drinking. So that is the sector health point of view. It is correct, but now all the things why RO water is important, because the membrane is filtering, especially the disease causing virus and bacteria the other way. So that is the reason ion size are also smaller than, bigger than that ions. So that is why both virus and bacteria as well as the dissolved nutrients, ions, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, everything is also filtered. So that is a negative, but the positive point is we are not getting any disease, because disease causing virus and bacteria or microbes which is present in the water. For that, our ancestors simply boiled the water, they used it, but in the civilized manner, in the fast moving world, we have no time to boil the water or always to use it. So that is why we are just using reverse osmosis water for all other things. But when we use, we have to always, as I told you from the beginning, we have to consider in the mind the nature, the ancient ecological setup. So now these are all the some of the things, green building, green movement, everything is coming. But the key factor we have to adopt is ecological incorporations of the techniques. Maybe you can say nanotechnology or whatever technology you can adopt, but you have to follow this kind of ecosystem principle. Okay, this kind of ecosystem principle you have to follow. For example, landscape ecology, geographers, and ecosystem ecology, community ecology, population ecology, organismal ecology, and global ecology. Always, that is why ancestors used to tell, think globally, act locally. Think globally, act locally. So you have to act, you have to adapt the local environmental setup which is prevailing here. Then only you can manage the local climate, microclimate in a better way. Then that will help for a global scale macroclimate or inter global climate. Okay, that is a concept, but now we are failed to understand that concept. So that is the reason now we are facing extreme environment, extreme behavior of the new diseases. Okay, so these kind of things already prevailed in every state. For example, our own state, the water, because of surface water, how it is dependent of various migratory birds and other ecological setups of, for example, you can see here small animals, and they're also doing wonderfully the ecological balance in a better way than man. Because we are claiming we are seventh sense people, not sixth sense people, but we are not able to manage the things in a better way comparing to these animals and other organisms. Okay, so this is what I just tell you. Every year they are doing wonderful job for us, but what the seventh sense people we have done for them, that is the biggest $100 million questions I am placing here. For that, we have to adopt, we have to adopt local ecology, local community, local setup, and think globally, act locally, and all this local ecological setup will help individual man. When the individual man is okay, the entire family will become okay. If the entire family will become okay, entire village will become okay. If the entire village is fine, the town will become fine. The town is become fine, the district will become super fine. If the district is fine, super fine, your own state will become super fine. Like that, then state, the country, then entire globe will become all right. So this everything is coming from the natural science, and the nano science is based on the environment and the ecology, as well as the hydrosphere, that is the water body, which help, and it is helping, and it will also help in the future. Only thing is we have to understand in a better way, then we can manage the things in a most wonderful way. So this is the message I would like to share for you people, for the water sectors, as well as the future studies towards maintaining the environment or the ecology of our entire mother earth. So with this I conclude my talk. I thank the University of Madras and the organizing secretary, Professor Bhaskaran sir, and other colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. James, for your elaborative talk.
Thank you so much, Mr. James, sir. That was a very wonderful presentation, and we promise to take your message wherever we go. Thank you so much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, due to lack of time and the tightly packed schedule, with a heavy heart, we are postponing the lecture of Dr. S. Subramanian, who is the Regional Director in charge of SCCR region, to 22nd of March 2022, which is also the World Water Day. We hope to see you all on 22nd March, where he will be giving an overview on groundwater scenario of Tamil Nadu. The link for the same shall be shared with you all at the earliest. We regret the inconvenience caused. With this, we are coming to the end of the workshop. I personally got to learn a lot from this, and I hope it was the same for all of you. Now I request Mr. Deepjyoti Gogoi to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Our honorable speakers and all the participants, it's my privilege to have been asked for the propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Center for Water Resource Management and Department of Indian History, RUSA 2.0, Geo-spatial Tech Information System for Sustainable Water and Environmental Planning, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence and took out valuable time for your busy schedule. Also, I would like to extend a special thanks to Dr. K. Rajan, Head of the Department of History from Pondicherry University, for making an excellent presentation on the water management practices and in ancient India, and making this seminar a very meaningful and interesting. Thank you, sir. We are inspired by Dr. Vidya's speech, where she mentioned about various scientific advancement in water management. The way she explained the topic is exemplary. Thank you, madam. I would also extend my thanks to Dr. Arthur James for educating us with the Indian surface water scenario and its interprets on future studies. Thank you, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Matheswaran sir, Professor and Head, Department of Adult and Continuing Education, Professor Dr. S.S. Sundaram sir, Group Leader, RUSA GTIS and Head of the Department of Indian History, Professor N. Gordon Tharman sir, Deputy Director HRDC and Principal Investigator GTIS, and Dr. Bhaskaran, Head of the CEDAW Center for Water Resource Management and Principal Investigator RUSA GTIS for providing encouragement and support. Our heartfelt gratitude to all the participants for their active participation in this workshop. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to Dr. K. Nalada, Hare Krishnan, Tamiselvan, and Sweta for their support and all our volunteers. Thank you all for making this event successful with your contribution. Participants are requested to submit the feedback form, which is provided in the chat box. The certificate will be sent to the participants within 15 days of the workshop. Thank you, everyone. Now we are going to start the national anthem.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravido, Kalabanga, Vindhya, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Uttara, Jalacisaranga. Tava Shubha Name Jahe, Tava Shubha Ashish Mage, Gahe Tava Jaya. Janagana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.